Chapter 1361 A Time of Great Opportunity. Emperor Enlightening Academy. Emperor Kong floated in the air, looking at the sky. He watched what happened to these parasites and was now in a strange mood. That battle had a significant effect on the world, and I sense an opportunity, but I cannot quite grasp it. He reviewed everything he had experienced, trying to catch that fleeting thought. Sadly, it eluded him like a thief who roams the night freely. Emperor Kong considered talking to his disciples, but he remembered he had sent them on a critical mission to one of the important branches. In that case, let's meet the teacher. Master Shang stood atop a long tower, looking hazily at the sky or maybe the stars. Was it stargazing? In some ways. After Master Shang was revived and cultivated, he voluntarily fused with the Academy's luck and became the artifact spirit/guardian of the Academy's luck condensing artifact. Emperor Kong was against this, but the latter was adamant. The benefits of this act were numerous. The Academy's luck was condensed beyond the norm, allowing their destiny to prosper at an efficient rate compared to top lineages. The artifact was also better protected, and more importantly, due to its limitations, Master Shang could cultivate luck and destiny Dao without the outlaw trial. Your mind is perturbed, Master Shang said without looking at his proud disciple. I am. Emperor Kong nodded. I feel an opportunity is before me, and I cannot grasp it. Emperor Kong would never doubt his intuition. Most cultivators of his realm would not question their senses or feelings, let alone those of someone like him with great luck and destiny. I was wondering if you had detected something. You're here at the right time, Master Shang declared. The secrets of heaven and earth were momentarily disturbed, allowing me to see a few things. Emperor Kong listened eagerly. Heavenly Dao's reliance on Wang Wei has increased, Master Shang continued. It needs him to continue confronting the Black and White Sunday. It also doesn't want him to be distracted. You mean? Emperor Kong asked with shining eyes. Yes, the moons have become a distraction, Master Shang continued. The destiny to eliminate them has been open to others. Now, their luck is at its weakest, and Heavenly Dao encourages people to take this opportunity to remove these parasites. This is certainly good news, Kong said with a smile before swiftly controlling himself. With destiny on their side, it will be easier to scheme and kill these parasites. However, is it really a good idea to take Wang Wei's destiny? Master Shang looked at him. You're too cautious about matters about him. And it's still not enough, Emperor Kong replied. Master Shang looked him in the eyes and did not say anything more. He has seen Kong grow up, and he has enough trust in him to believe his judgment. You don't need to worry about him, Master Shang continued as he looked at the sky. Heavenly Dao knows what a terrible mistake it would be to ruin their relationship in the current situation. As such, it has already planned to make it up for him. Additionally, some new changes have occurred in the moon's chi luck. Oh. What did you see? It has become extremely easy to plunder their luck, Master Shang continued. As long as you kill them once and force them to lose one of their lives, you can plunder a great deal of their luck and destiny. This is our Academy's chance. We only need to kill one of them once, and the gain will be worth it. I understand, Emperor Kong nodded with shining eyes. He thanked his teacher before leaving. He needed to summon a meeting to discuss the next step. Dao Opening Sect, a meeting of the elders and patriarch. Have you heard the news? Sect Master Yukai asked. What news? An elder who had just appeared asked. He was in isolated training to heal his injuries from the lock and was cut off from the outside. He wouldn't have shown his face if not for this emergency meeting. The parasite's luck and destiny has become easier to plunder, someone explained. That is good news, but is it enough for such a grand meeting? We don't need their luck and destiny. Stupid, think of the implications. What implications? Even if they are all dead, nothing will change with this fucking lock above our head. Yukai sensed a fight was about to occur, so he raised his hand to stop everybody. Today's topic is whether we should intervene more in the outside world. Now that everyone is caught on, let's discuss the pros and cons. The main pro is we can revive the ancestors, and they will finally free us, someone said. The overlords and top lineages had too deep of a foundation. To facilitate their power and control, Time Eater played politics and convinced them to seal most of their top powers and resources, such as paragon artifacts, puppets, and talismans. As such, these lineages desperately need the return of their ancestors to free themselves. The con is the two sons are now more active than ever. With the latter's power, it might be easier for him to stop us from reviving our ancestors. Or even worse, use this opportunity to wipe us out. The room became eerily quiet. How long has it been since their sect has not felt a threat of death? At the top of their power, they were the ones who decided others' life and death, but now, everything was reversed. Grand Elder, what do you think? Yukai asked, looking at the elderly woman in a plain blue robe. As a sect master, Yukai only respected Grand Elder Yen Shui. The sect's political situation was complicated, with countless families and significant suppression of the sectarian faction to prevent the birth of another powerful family. When this era started, and the sect faced a catastrophe, people's first instinct was to choose one of the three ancestral families, Wang, Yan, Li, as their next leader. However, Grand Elder Yen Shui vetoed these people and supported Yukai. She advocated and ensured the latter retained all his rights and power as sect master. Grand Elder Yen Shui had many ways to take power. When the catastrophe started, the remaining paragons in the sect knew their fate, so they chose one person to survive and look after the sect in this upcoming turbulent era. Yen Shui was chosen, and without hesitation, she injured her existence, so her cultivation would drop to the Empyrean realm. With her status and strength, she could have easily taken over. However, she fought to preserve the sect's rules and orthodoxy. Regarding such a major decision, it's best to hear from the ancestor, Yen Shui said. You have a point, Yukai said. Things have reached the point that they may need the opinion and guidance of their ancestors. Yukai agreed, and since Yen Shui was the only one who could contact Yen Hai, the elderly woman left the room and returned a few minutes later. The ancestor said we don't need to do anything, Yen Shui announced. Young Master Wang Wei has taken on the burden, and we only need to wait until he needs or asks for our help. That's it? She also said that if something happens to him, prepare to avenge him no matter the cost. I understand, Yukai nodded. He knew how high Wang Wei's status was in the sect, but he did not expect it to be to this level. However, he was not worried or jealous. He has accomplished his mission as a sect master and has enough luck and merit to become a paragon. So, even if Wang Wei returns and wants his position, he can give it up. Tribal Sacred Mountain, Star Sage Fan Sui looked at the sky, pondering the fate of the demon race. Should we partake in this feast? Or is it too early? She took this question seriously, as it would determine the fate of the demon race. Ao Shen is indeed talented, but he is not ready. Participating in this event has a higher chance of killing him than giving any benefit. But if that is true, where is his opportunity? Star Sage Fan Sui looked at the lock above the heavens briefly before her eyes shifted to the seal Time Eater. Are you this world's next time nexus? Will the world's next catastrophe originate from you? In that case, we can prepare to participate in that one. She waved her hand to send someone to summon Ao Shen. As Wang Wei predicted, the latter became an Empyrean, but he has not condensed a golden body of merit. Wang Wei slightly underestimates the complicated political situation of the demon race. Did something happen? Fan Sui asked, and Ao Shen was shocked before remembering who this woman was. So, he told her about Wang Wei's message. It's indeed fate, Fan Sui said, but Ao Shen did not understand. In my name, I'll sponsor you for the merit you lack, and you can accept his proposal. A light of wisdom flashed in Ao Shen's eyes. As you wish. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1362 A Time of Great Opportunity, 2, Tong Ruobing opened her eyes, frowning deeply. She waved her hand, and the communication talisman manifested. She warned the maids not to disturb her in case of an emergency. Nothing should have happened so soon, so why was she contacted? When Tong Ruobing read the message, her frown deepened. Why is she asking for me? Especially with such urgency? She walked out of the room and soon arrived at the entrance. Why are you here? She asked directly, looking at a beautiful young woman in black with a small mole underneath her left eye that elevated her beauty. The elders are looking for you, Sun Xiu replied. Why did they send you? Tong Ruobing asked, raising her guard. She had every reason to guard against the latter's scheme. The Great Talisman City was the only professional faction from the lower dimension that joined the Skill Dao Association and became one of the core figures. Sadly, they have never cultivated a primal paragon, so their status is not the best. But after Tong Ruobing ascended and re-established her foundation, her faction saw hope. They provided her with all the resources and guidance necessary to ensure that she could grow to one day become a primal. Of course, such status and resources are bound to affect someone else, and that's where Sun Xiu comes in. Before Tong Ruobing's ascension, she was the most promising talent in the association to become a primal. Still, after only a little over 10,000 yuan epochs, their status has become the same as they competed for the position of primal seed. It's an emergency, and no one wanted to leave, so they asked me to fetch you, Sun Xiu replied, not hiding her annoyance. Tong Ruobing glanced at her and secretly shook her head. She has great disdain for this woman. The Skill Path Association has enough resources to train more than one primal seeds, but this woman insisted on competing with her and even tried to suppress her after she initially ascended. The chances of someone with such a petty and small mindset becoming a primal is too little. Tong Ruobing even wondered whether this woman could survive the Paragon tribulation. Lead the way, Tong Ruobing said. The Skill Dao Association was a congregation of mountains similar to the Dao opening sect, except they were not floating in the sky. Tong Ruobing's location was one of the 4 primary mountains, symbolizing the 4 main professions: pill, weapon, array, and talismans. She frowned when she realized their destination was Destiny Mountain. The Skill Dao Association accepted people worldwide into their mountains. There is a specific quota, and even other overlords will compete for them. However, Destiny Mountain was unique as it did not cultivate anyone with divination talents. Instead, they were in charge of observing the association's luck, destiny, and future. The two soon reached their destination, and Tong Ruobing was shocked to find out that all the top leaders of the association were present. And once they all glanced at her, she felt suffocated. Luckily, she had also entered the Empyrean realm, and the most powerful people present were in this realm. The current associate president waved his hand to activate an isolated profession, and Tong Ruobing sensed the changes in the environment. This is definitely a paragon array, and it may be more than just one. What exactly is going on? Child, come, said a calm and soothing voice. Elder Chen, Tong Ruobing saluted, looking at the elderly woman with clear eyes and no pupils. Did something happen? The secrets of heaven and earth became chaotic, allowing me to peep at our association's fate without much repercussions, Elder Chen explained in a plain and slow voice. Tong Ruobing did not comment and waited for the latter to explain. I saw an opportunity to break this prison, and you will play a part in it, Elder Chen continued. Are you serious? What can someone like me do in such a situation? Tong Ruobing was puzzled. Although the association did not give access to certain information, she was smart enough to deduce the level of power involved, thus, she knew how weak she was. My divination cannot be wrong, Elder Chen continued. You will play a part, and the destiny for breaking this lock will bring great fortune to us. Now, I need you to think clearly about whether you have something or experienced something that could help the situation. It's alright if you don't. There is a chance that you haven't encountered it yet. Elder Chen was experienced enough to understand how fate operated, so it's entirely possible that Tong Ruobing hasn't encountered the events that led to her participation. However, it would be best if they knew in advance. That way, they could maximize their benefits. Something that can affect the current situation, Tong Ruobing muttered before something lashed into her eyes. Did you think of something? Elder Chen asked. Tong Ruobing summoned an orb with millions of sealing talismans. This is the blood and aura of a terrifying creature sealed in the lower dimension. This is the only thing I can think about. Can I see? Yes, but please, be extra careful. Elder Chen nodded. She knew Tong Ruobing was not the kind of highly cautious type, but she still acted in such a manner that enough is proof of how serious this sealed blood was. So, she slowly lifted the talismans to sense inside. A murmur penetrated deep into Elden Chen's soul, trying to force her to worship some kind of entity. Additionally, she also sensed her soul rapidly being corroded as madness overwhelmed her senses. She reacted swiftly and protected herself. What a terrifying thing, she commented. It wasn't this bad, Tong Ruobing said with a frown. She realized this thing's power had silently increased while she was not paying attention. She shuddered, thinking what would have happened had she opened it while still in the Great Emperor realm. The power level is only on par with the Empyrean realm, Elder Chen commented. But its essence has indeed surpassed the Paragon realm. My prediction wasn't wrong. This thing will be one of the keys to removing the lock. Everyone's eyes looked at that orb with fiery eyes. The world was currently experiencing a catastrophe, meaning there were both dangers and opportunities. If their association could choose the right side and acquire enough destiny, then they can cultivate a few more primal paragons and reach the same level as the Grand Sect Alliance and the Dao Opening Sect among the Overlords. Child, can you tell me in detail about how you acquired this thing? Tong Ruobing hesitated briefly before explaining everything that occurred with the abyss gap in the lower dimension. She left some details out, but they were not that important. Wang Wei, huh? Elder Chen muttered. It seems the Dao Opening Sect will soon become the leader in the upcoming era. Isn't that expected? The association president uttered. The Grand Sect Alliance is a group forced together, while the four primals of the Dao Opening Sect are basically family. Isn't that why many people tried to suppress their development? Let's not talk about this, Elder Chen continued. She, more than many people, understood that some things were destined. Child, can you lend us this for a while? No problem, Tong Ruobing agreed without hesitation. She knew she had no choice in the current situation, and this thing would probably only be helpful after becoming a primal. Don't worry, we won't take your things without compensation, Elder Chen continued. As a reward, you will be granted the position of Primal Seed, with all the status and resources. Additionally, you will be the one who carries the destiny from breaking the lock. Elder Chen, the association president said. It's fine to give her the position, but the matter of destiny must be treated with care. Elder Chen calmly looked at him. Haven't you understood? Some things are already destined. Why was she the one with this blood? Why did Wang Wei choose to bear the world's destiny, and why did she have a close connection with him? Everything seems random or coincidental, but it's just fate working its miracle. I understand what you mean, but... The association president continued, unwilling to let such an opportunity pass. We can wait until we can contact the ancestors, but I guarantee they will make the same choice. Then, let's just wait, the president responded with gritted teeth. He knew his talent and that reaching the peak of the Paragon realm was far-fetched. However, he now had a chance to see higher peaks with this upcoming destiny. Elder Chen looked at Sun Xiu and sighed, Little Xiu, why is your mood so chaotic? Sun Xiu was quiet. Our association was one of the overlords. Do you think we don't have the resources to train more than one primal seed? Why are you so small-minded? With such a mindset, how do you expect to carry the Sun clan's name and glory? The Sun clan patriarch looked at his daughter with a frown. Their clan is a descendant of the association's primal, meaning they have one of the highest status. Previously, he indulged his daughter since she had some talent, but now, he realized she may not be enough to represent the Sun clan in the upcoming era. It seems I may have to find another heir, he thought. However, thinking about how doting his wife was, he added. All right, let's give her one more chance. Elder Chan, what should we do now? Our priority is to purify this thing and keep the essence, Elder Chen stated. That is probably the key. But can this thing be purified? When Elder Chen opened the orb, the elders sensed the evil power emanating from it and were not confident. "We must try," she replied before suddenly thinking of something. Looking at Tong Ruobing, she asked, "Do you want to participate?" "Me?" Elder Chen nodded. "No problem," Tong Ruobing replied calmly. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1363 A Time of Great Opportunity, 3. No need to read the second paragraph. There is a problem with this chapter. It should have been released before the one called Grand Daos Grand Move, but I wrote the chapter but never published it. I'm also having a problem with fixing this issue with S rules that you cannot delete more than 1,000 words of a published chapter, especially privileged ones. Hopefully, this long introduction fixes the issue. I just tried, and it did not meet the requirements, so I must add more. I'm sorry for this introduction, you don't have to read it. It's one of the requirements for me to fix the issue. Maybe I should have deleted the entire thing and republished it. However, that probably would cause more trouble, and there is the fact it's not fair for the people who already bought the chapter. Alright, this should meet the word counts. Qin Longwei, the supervisor of the Great Chu Divine Dynasty's prison, received a strange request today. A middle-level minister of the agricultural department wished to meet him secretly. At first, he wanted to refuse, but the latter provided him with some information about one of his enemies. Qin Longwei thought this might be an opportunity to take down the latter and maybe even get promoted. When he arrived at his destination, he checked the surroundings to ensure he was not falling into a trap. He felt relieved that the only person present was that small minister. "Tell me your news, and don't waste my time," Qin Longwei said directly. Although his department was on the lower end of the dynasty, his rank was still above this little clerk. As such, he did not give the latter much face. Sir, I only want some guarantees," said the clerk with a trembling voice. "Tell me your information before we can even negotiate." "Sir, if you're not talking, I won't stay here for long," Qin Longwei sneered before walking away. He had already captured the clerk's mindset as soon as he laid eyes on them. As someone who deals with all kinds of criminals and the low lives of the dynasty, he can tell when someone is desperate. So, knowing he had all the advantages, Qin Longwei acted accordingly to ensure maximum benefit. He knew that any time now, this clerk would call him back with more desperation in his voice. Sadly, he overestimated his abilities this time. The small clerk suddenly released a shadow that swallowed Qin Longwei before he could react. He did not scream, nor did his intuition activate, he was swallowed completely. A new Qin Longwei appeared where he previously stood, but his eyes were different. He had lost the cruelty and brutality raised by torturing and killing criminals for countless Yuan epochs. Instead, his eyes were sharp, cunning, and powerful. This transformation lasted only seconds before Qin Longwei returned to his previous self. This new version perfectly captured the former Qin Longwei's aura, personality, facial expression, memories, etc. "You can leave, and don't let anyone see you, Qin Longwei." "No," Paragon Jimin said to the clerk. The two left separately, and Jimin took this opportunity to review Qin Longwei's memories in detail. "The prisoners from the hidden layers were taken out," he murmured. "I was right. Something is wrong with Shu Ren." When he was the prime minister, Paragon Jimin knew that the hidden layers of the prison contained powerful body refiners or cultivators that could be absorbed to help Shu Ren heal in case of an emergency. Only a few people knew about it, and only the emperor could order people to remove these prisoners. Now that I have confirmed the news, what should my next step be? Paragon Jimin thought. As soon as the Earth Emperor returned, he liquidated the Prime Minister and many other identities Jimin had, forcing him to start over. Luckily, he knew enough about the dynasty to slowly return to the top by stealing the lives of important ministers. If he is given some time and without interference, Jimin is confident he will once again be the Prime Minister, and this time, with his Paragon Realm cultivation, his hiding ability will drastically increase. Jimin looked at the sky when he returned home. His eyes saw the Chi Luck Dragon of Great Chu. The normal eyes cannot see anything different about it, but he can see the instability of the dragon, especially after Wang Wei injured Shu Ren. It has become easier to plunder the luck and destiny of these people, and this might be the fastest way for me to recuperate, Emperor Jimin analyzed. But what should I do once I return to my peak? Take revenge on Wang Wei? No, that's pointless. Although the latter did scheme against him, he indeed saved him. Additionally, Paragon Jimin knew how difficult it would be to kill a master of karma after owing the latter a debt of saving their lives. Not to mention, he has speculated that Wang Wei has Paragon tier strength, hence why Shu Ren was injured. My ambition has always been to use the current chaos to build a powerful faction to prepare for the upcoming era, Paragon Jimin analyzed. By now, the rebellion should only be bones and skin, leaving only a few of my diehard supporters. In that case, I'll need to use my status as the first paragon to condense my luck and destiny and to rally people into my lineage. Lao Qin, where have you been? Yelled a gruff voice as soon as Qin Longwei entered his house. He recognized it as his voice and yelled, I went to get some fresh air. You didn't go drinking again, did you? I've told you many times not to associate with these scoundrels. The prisons are full of people whose minds have been twisted. Some came to the prison to satisfy their hidden urges, while others became like this after years in that terrible environment. It did not help that the prison had a unique cultivation technique that absorbed baleful auras and negative emotions. Qin Longwei's wife never liked how her husband associated with these people by taking them drinking. No, I haven't, Qin Longwei responded. Let me check. A divine sense descended on the room that scanned his body, especially his mouth and aura, making Paragon Jimin's lips twitch. Good, it seems you've started to listen to me more. Jimin ignored his wife and entered his cultivating room. From Qin Longwei's memories and his experience as a prime minister, he knew the prison supervisor position was not simple. The emperor has absolute power. With one word, he can imprison or kill nobles, high-ranking ministers, or their families. These people cannot do anything to the emperor, but can't they kill a lowly prison supervisor? Before Qin Longwei took office, the Great Chu dynasty often switched supervisors. Qin Longwei successfully stayed in his position for so long because he formed a bond or connection with his officers, forming a tight group that bound their interests and protected each other. His wife is from a middle-tier noble clan, so she looks down on these people, but Qin Longwei knows this is his method of survival. Since I've decided to kill that bastard, I need to make a plan, Paragon Jimin continued once he was alone. But where to start? He reviewed all the information he knew about the dynasty, and his mind finally locked into one person, the third prince, he muttered. Shu Ren seems lucky in this department, so he has given birth to a few children. However, all the princes or princesses in the current dynasty can be said to be mediocre. Only a few have reached the Empyrean, and most are in the early stages of the Great Emperor realm. Of course, everyone knows it's not because of these heirs' talent, but they just stop cultivating out of fear. They all knew that the few of their brothers and sisters who cultivated to the peak of the Empyrean realm disappeared, except for the third prince. He reached that realm long ago, but nothing has happened to him. The discerning eyes could tell that it was not for the lack of trying on the emperor's part. Yet, the third prince is alive and well. Although it seems he has little power on the surface, as the prime minister, Jimin once discovered the latter had a terrifying intelligence agency under his control. This man has always been an enigma, and if there is someone who might be willing to work with me to kill Shu Ren, it's him, Jimin analyzed. Alright, it's decided. However, I should be careful when dealing with him. He had long suspected that the third prince intentionally revealed his intelligence agency to test him, and the fact that he did not report this to the emperor showed the former prime minister's character. Jimin exhaled to calm down. Although he had a preliminary plan, he did not want to act immediately. The current situation was dangerous, and Shu Ren was sensitive during this time of weakness. It may reveal his actions if he acts now. Jimin uttered as his vision penetrated this house and glazed at the dynasty's Chiluk dragon. It became weaker. What happened? Someone was desperately hiding the effects on the dragon, but this could not stop the former paragon. His luck has dissipated immensely, similar to when the emperor experienced death. Could it be? The only explanation was Shu Ren used one of his longevity resources to heal whatever damage he experienced in the previous battle. He's quite resolute, Jimin praised. The situation was ever-changing, so it was wise for Shu Ren to maintain his top fighting shape. As for the loss of his luck, he could still recuperate it with the correct method. Unfortunately for you, this is a chaotic time, and destiny is against you, he sneered. Under standard times, Shu Ren could indeed recuperate his luck and destiny. But now, he was nothing but a fat pig that had caught the entire world's attention. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1364 Heavenly Daos Grand Move, Unedited Chapter. There is a missing chapter labeled A Great Time of Opportunity, 3. It should have been released yesterday, but I made an error and did not push the publish button. Go read it since there is some vital information. Wang Wei sat cross-legged before countless mortals, with 369 billion of them chosen as the leader and imbued with great destiny by Wang Wei and Heavenly Dao. This number sounds large, but considering the unfathomable number of mortals in the Eternal Ascension world, that number meant nothing. Fortunately, Wang Wei went with quality over quantity. These leaders are intelligent enough to inherit all the knowledge of the mortal civilization and have the political and tactical minds to lead their minds. Additionally, Wang Wei knew what was coming, so after teaching them the knowledge, he also trained them through simulation on how to fight against cultivators. Your training is completed, Wang Wei said. 6 months have passed outside, but these people have experienced more than a dozen years of learning and training. The destiny of your species is in your hands, Wang Wei continued. Although many cultivators will provide aid, ultimately, you must rely on yourselves. We understand, enlightened sage, they responded in unison. Wang Wei nodded. Although he did not ask them to call him as such, his actions are worthy of such a title. Now, go. Sir, will we see you again? Asked one of the female leaders. If fate wills it, we will, Wang Wei replied. He waved his hand, and everyone's mind returned to their bodies. He sighed to himself. Mortals are nothing in the grand scheme of things. They are at the bottom of the hierarchical chain, and yet, the future and destiny of the Eternal Ascension world has to rely on them to ensure it has a future. Wang Wei shook his head to regain his focus, and he muttered under his breath, the seeds have been planted. Now, we only need guardians to ensure they can bloom into beautiful flowers without any hindrance. He did not hesitate to contact Feng Heng and Sage Lin Qi. The three spent the next few hours discussing how to protect these mortals while they build their civilization and how to spread their accomplishments better. Once they had a concrete plan, Wang Wei forwarded it to a few allies, including his ancestor and the sect and Emperor Kong and Sun Junyao. He did not know whether the latter would participate but still sent the news. I think I can do more, Wang Wei pondered. He sent messages to all the people he had connections to in the lower dimension, especially the ones who participated in his banquet. He did not talk to these people or ask them to repay the favor they owed him. Instead, he spoke of the benefits of doing so, including future merit and the blessing of luck and destiny. He was forthright about the mortal civilization since he knew it couldn't remain a secret with supreme unity around. Of course, Wang Wei did not expect most of them to act, mainly because Heavenly Dao's current merit system was malfunctioning, but as long as 10% of these people caught the bait and involved the factions behind them, then the mortals' chances at survival in this catastrophe will drastically increase. He created a clone to watch the void illusion realm before finally leaving. Something is wrong? What's wrong with my destiny? And the world? Wang Wei has been so focused on the Heaven's secret crystal and the establishment of the mortal civilization that he did not notice the subtle changes between heaven and earth. Now that he was free, he immediately noticed something. It's so easy to plunder these parasites' destiny, Wang Wei muttered. Additionally, the burden of dealing with them has been diverted to others. Wang Wei floated in the void, observing the destiny of the world with a frown. So, that's how it is? I was just thinking how such a capable heavenly Dao like yourself could fail so miserably, he smiled. The three-way battle between the sun's vessels and Heavenly Tao was more successful than he analyzed. Heavenly Tao opened the secrets and destiny of the world to everyone, thus creating countless small chess players in this game that will define the world's fate. It's indeed a brilliant move. This world is full of talents, so why not use them? Why not create more variables to give it a chance at surviving? Wang Wei analyzed. More importantly, these small chess players can lessen the burden on my shoulders, and I will not lose much since Heavenly Tao will repay me even more. A brilliant smile appeared on Wang Wei's face. It's been 6 months, and the world is too quiet. These new chess players are too conservative. Where is their passion as young people? In that case, let's send them a signal to hurry up. Additionally, these parasites should be distracted to prevent them from hindering the mortal civilizations. Wang Wei thought of all the parasites, choosing his next target as if he were shopping for shoes. Let's see. I don't need to do much for the fight between Undead Phoenix and Five Feathers, and any new actions might make them more reserved in their actions. Seven Cauldron is a vessel that cannot be touched easily, so it only leaves Shu Ren, the Earth Emperor. Wang Wei waved his hand to manifest a string of fate and gently plucked it. He looked at his work and smiled before teleporting away. Great Chu Divine Dynasty, Supreme Yin Palace, all the ministers stood before the throne with their heads lowered. Things have not been going well for them ever since the Emperor returned. Forget how they had so much power and wealth when the Emperor was not here, but he's been moody and aggressive ever since the latter's return. There have been times when he acted like this before, but not to such a level, nor did it last for so long. Today, the Emperor discovered major corruption in the Treasury Department, and everyone was scared. After all, not a single minister present in this room can confidently say that their ass was clean. With all the chaos and the Emperor's absence, isn't it normal for them to take some resources secretly? So, don't you have anything to say? Shu Ren asked while releasing his aura. He knew his ministers were corrupted. In fact, he encouraged them since, when necessary, he could use this to control or eliminate them. However, he could not tolerate how these people took so much that he could not find the resources he needed to at least temporarily seal the terrifying curse or whatever from Wang Wei's technique. Your Majesty, I have something to offer you, said someone. Although the person spoke without pause, anyone could detect the subtle fluctuations in their voice. Shu Ren calmly looked at the Minister of Right, a middle-aged woman who could be described as plump, but that did not hide the subtle beauty in her face. Shu Ren chuckled, but no one detected any joy or positive emotions from him, only endless killing intent. It was common for these subordinates to offer rare treasures or gifts to their superiors and even the emperors, but was it really the time for this? Many people felt that this Minister of Right had been dealing too much with the Taoist and Buddhist priests and had her brain rotten. Taoism and Buddhism are both the official religions of the Great Chu dynasty. However, a small minority believes this was a desperate act to save herself. You better choose your next few words very carefully, Shu Ren warned. The Minister of Right, also known as Lady Ren, swiftly summoned an ice coffin containing a body. Such a beautiful woman. That was everybody's first thought, followed by what Shu Ren said next. Is that Sun Junyao? The Earth Emperor asked in shock before realizing what he saw. No, it's not her. This person also has the essence of perfection, but not nearly on Sun Junyau's level. Your Majesty is wise and has great vision, Lady Ren swiftly said. Shu Ren looked at the sleeping woman whose beauty was accentuated by the ice and cold surrounding her. A hint of desire flashed in his eyes, but he swiftly controlled himself. He calmly looked at Lady Ren, his eyes cold and indifferent. Do you think this is an appropriate gift? Lady Ren started sweating as the aura pressure got to her. Her mind went on overdrive as she swiftly responded, Your Majesty, there is no need to worry. She is just the work of some fool studying perfection. I found her during one of my fortune encounters, and I can hand over the place for His Majesty to investigate. Additionally, Your Majesty can control every aspect of this woman. You can place as many secret restrictions on her and control everything she does, including her meal. You can even check and change her memories as you see fit. Lady Ren did not know what she was saying. All she knew was that she spewed everything she could think of to appease the emperor's suspicions. You have a point, but this emperor is not such a person, Shu Ren responded, smiling slightly and removing his aura. However, I should be cautious and double-check. He snapped his finger, and someone floated from his shadow. You know what to do, right? Yes, my lord. Good, Shu Ren nodded, looking at the beautiful woman. Then, he waved his hand to put her away. What about the corruption case? The shadow asked. Shu Ren looked at these people. As long as they can repay most of the stolen money. And if they can't? If they can only pay 60% or more, send them to prison until I'm in a better mood and I remember them, Shu Ren continued. If it's less than 50%, add a weekly dose of torture, and if less than 20%, just kill them. Many ministers' bodies trembled. Many already used those resources to gain personal strength or more political and military power in the dynasty. Some have wasted it on pleasures and such. The only person who felt relief was Lady Ren. Although the emperor did not say anything explicitly, it's apparent that he liked her gift. As you wish, the shadow replied before disappearing. Shu Ren took one last look at these people and sneered before leaving. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1365 Shu Shu, how is it? Shu Ren asked, looking at the shadow kneeling before him. I have investigated it clearly. She is the product of a genius from the golden generation called the Moon Knight Paragon. According to records, he once saw a perfect woman during an eclipse and has been pursuing the path of perfection since then. And you're sure such a person exists? There are many records of his existence, and the Minister of Right is not the only person who has found one of his experiments since his disappearance. Shu Ren was quiet, with his index finger tapping on his armrest. Did you find any anomaly inside that secret realm? Not as far as I can detect, hence why I brought it with me so you can check, if you wish. Shu Ren hesitated briefly before summoning a puppet of the same realm. He linked his visions to the object before sending it inside. The puppet had a powerful divine sense, allowing it to check for the unknown. More importantly, it served as a proxy in case something was wrong. As long as Shu Ren was careful, he would have plenty of time to protect himself or escape while the puppet was being eradicated or influenced. He was careful and spent a few hours searching, but this was an ordinary secret realm that served as a laboratory. The only things worth noticing were how old it was and the faint aura of perfection remaining around. Shadow, tell me your honest opinion. Do you think someone is plotting against me? Shadow pondered briefly. In the current era, there is only one person with enough knowledge and ability to pull such a scheme, and that's Sun Junyao. However, after killing the blood dragon, she has no motive or capability to pull another stunt like that again. She has plenty of motive, Shu Ren sneered. His words plunged the room into momentary silence for a few seconds. Then, he continued, what about Wang Wei? Shadow was silent. Speak. Shadow no longer hesitated. There has been no evidence that Wang Wei has such a great understanding of perfection, and granted that it's not his Dao, the only way for him to scheme something like that would be for him to team up with Sun Junyao. Don't beat around the bush and state your opinion. If this is Wang Wei's scheme, I cannot think of the latter's objective, Shadow explained. Not to be rude, but this unfinished product does not have Sun Junyao's charm, so what would be the plan of using her as bait? And even if she was, Lord, you are not as weak-willed as the lustful dragon, so the same plan would not work. Maybe this is just a distraction, Shu Ren said with squinting eyes. Instead of focusing on her, our eyes should be elsewhere, for example, Lady Ren. No, she's too obvious, so most likely a pawn. Shu Ren felt he was into something. The perfect woman was a distraction, and Wang Wei's attack was coming somewhere else. There is another possibility we may have overlooked, Shadow suddenly said. Oh. Her creator. The Moon Knight Paragon? Shu Ren asked with a frown. Are you suggesting he's alive and might want his test subject back? That's right. He might not allow anyone to touch her if he values her. That's a little far-fetched, Shu Ren disagreed. He's been missing for heaven knows how long, and even if he's alive, he won't be in the eternal ascension world, and as you know, it's impossible to return here in the current climate. Unless he's achieved the same realm as the two suns. That's even more absurd, Shu Ren replied before pausing. Do we have any records of him entering the ultimate taboo? He has long disappeared before the ultimate taboo, Shadow replied, and Shu Ren almost sighed in relief. But that doesn't rule out that he entered from other worlds. Indeed, Shu Ren acknowledged before thinking deeply. I still think your idea is too far-fetched and has too many loopholes. If Wang Wei wanted to use such a person to eliminate me, he would have to know in advance that the Moon Knight Paragon has reached such a realm, and he would also have to understand that this frozen woman was significant to him. Unless he's not the one responsible, Shadow responded. If not him, who else? Are you saying this is a plot from one of those 5? Time Eater, to be specific, Shadow continued his analysis. You should know that he has a much better information network involving affairs in foreign chaos worlds, so it's not impossible for him to hear the news about Moon Knight Paragon. Furthermore, we know that he's not the type to remain subordinate, so what is the best way, in this current situation, for him to retain his autonomy and as much power as possible? Make the world chaotic by distracting the two suns from paying attention to him. There is no better way for him to succeed than to introduce another powerhouse on their level. Shu Ren frowned. Assuming you're right, what role do I play in this grand scheme? Hasn't he always wanted all the world's luck and destiny for himself? Shadow stated. According to his original plan, he would choose people on the Moon Council that he could easily control and deal with, and when the time was right, he would eliminate them and take all their luck and destiny. Shu Ren had to admit that Shadow's analysis made sense. If Time Eater's plan succeeded, he would have killed 2 birds with 1 stone by diverting the two suns' attention and killing him in the process. An intense killing intent flashed in his eyes before dissipating. What do you suggest we do? Shadow did not immediately reply. Well, sir, the simplest way to solve this issue is to put the woman away. Whether this is a scheme or not, we will have no problem as long as she's no longer our problem. Your approach is too conservative, Shu Ren immediately answered. Plus, wouldn't I be telling the world that I fear either Wang Wei or Time Eater if I sent her away? Sir, Shu Ren raised his hand to stop him. Your analysis is sound and impeccable on paper, but there are still many flaws. For example, why hasn't the Moon Knight Emperor returned to the Eternal Ascension world after his cultivation success? Did something happen to him? Did he abandon his home after achieving such a level of power? Shu Ren's body on the throne suddenly relaxed. Achieving that cultivation realm is not as simple as you imagine. Additionally, we know that there are others in the Chaos universe, but none have ever entered the Eternal Ascension world despite many wanting to. Shadow was quiet. His lord had a point, but he also knew that these points were nothing but excuses. Ultimately, he kept the woman out of pride and lust. Maybe he's not so different from the dragon, after all. The only difference is he's arrogant enough to think he can see through any scheme and deal with it. In that case, sir, what do you need me to do? Keep an eye out for Wang Wei and Time Eater's actions, he ordered. Shu Ren wanted to be vigilant and prepare in case something went wrong. As you wish. Shadow disappeared, and the Emperor summoned the frozen woman. He pointed at her, and countless formations manifested in the void before entering her body. With this method, he could secretly control her life and death and monitor her mood, expression, and even thoughts. As for her memories, Shu Ren did not touch them until he discovered they mainly consisted of a middle-aged man with a cold expression experimenting with her by using countless formations. Shu Ren took a moment to check his work before finally opening the coffin. The woman looked beautiful, even though she was not completely perfect. On the contrary, such an imperfection added some points to her overall charm. I couldn't have Sun Junyao, but I can have her. Better yet, I may be able to cultivate my own Sun Junyao, Shu Ren thought with shining eyes. The frozen woman's eyelid trembled before opening. She looked at Shu Ren with her pure eyes and frowned. You're not my creator. Who are you? Creator? Who is that? Shu Ren said. One of my ministers found you inside a secret realm. You were the only one there. The woman immediately became quiet as a somber aura emanated from her body. It was so intense that it even affected Shu Ren for a few seconds. Truly worthy of a perfect creature, the Earth Emperor thought. Is something wrong? He asked. It seems I was a failure and father. The somber atmosphere intensified, but Shu Ren was no longer affected. I'm sorry that happened to you, he said in the most sincere voice possible. If you wish, I can help you search for your father. My dynasty is one of the biggest in the world, and I can monopolize a great deal of power. You're a ruler? That's right, Shu Ren responded with a smile. You do have a regal bearing, the woman nodded. However, there is no need. Since I could not meet father's expectations, there is no point in seeing him again. I see, Shu Ren nodded. Oh, how rude of me. What do I call you? I don't have a name. That's not good. We need a way to identify and address you. How about I give you one? Let's see. Shu Ren did not wait for her to give her permission. The first thing I saw about you was your pure eyes, so let's use Shu for purity. We have some destiny, so it'll allow you to use the royal name. In that case, you'll be named Shu Shu. Shu Shu, the woman muttered. She did not focus on Shu Ren's rude behavior, as her mind was only focused on the fact that she now had a name. It's lovely, I like it. From now on, it'll be Shu Shu. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know your report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1366 Declaring War. Wang Wei returned home and summoned his team. Everybody soon arrived except for Monk. What happened? Is he in retreat? He has returned to the clan, Dulgun quickly explained. I stay here so I can relay his message. He apologized for the sudden departure, but he had good reason. He's planning on taking down one of the moons, but that requires him to return home. Oh. Can you elaborate more? You sound very confident. I apologize, but I cannot say anything more since it involves secrets of our barbarian clan, Dulgun replied. Wang Wei was intrigued, but he did not ask any more questions. Instead, he took a moment to analyze the information he knew about the barbarian clan and remembered certain rumors he had read about in Wuhang's library. Could it be that ceremony? Interesting. He did not mind Monk's actions as long the latter could succeed. Wang Wei had to agree with Heavenly Dao's approach since he was starting to feel overwhelmed with all the things he had to do. So, now more than ever, he was glad he had people to help alleviate the workload and pressure. Well, that's fine, he said. Anything to report? There is nothing significant except that the fate-changing hall has shown signs of collapsing, Wang Qi reported. As you know, these people joined because they needed an outlet to get resources. But now, these resources are useless since they cannot be cultivated. Our non-immortal members are still active since they want to exchange for longevity resources to extend their lifespan, but the immortal members could not care more. A while ago, there was a craze of hoarding resources, but after a brief period, it has become quiet and desolate. Wang Wei groaned. The operational model of the fate-changing hall was flawed from the beginning, operating on a pure reward basis, similar to mercenaries. Now that the rewards and benefits were useless, these people, who had no loyalty except to themselves, will not work for Wang Wei anymore. Although cultivation was impossible, fighting techniques are still valuable. We could use that to placate them temporarily, Wang Wei suggested. Dulgun had the same idea, and she even provided access to Monk's pagoda, Wang Qi replied. Quite a few people were tempted to learn new fighting techniques to increase their strength, but they are not so desperate compared to before. It is still challenging to mobilize their powers compared to before. Well, it's good enough that we can still use them. Wang Wei stopped as he frowned. No, I overlooked something. He instantly became serious, the light of wisdom flashed in his eyes as something dawned on him. The people from the fate-changing hall are directly linked to me. Most of them even have my spirit particles in their souls, meaning they can be used against me. His face turned seriously as soon as he uttered these words. Then, Wang Wei fully displayed his quality as a Dao overlord. He ruthlessly and without a single hesitation ordered his spirit particles and the backup he put on these people to kill all of them. He did not spare anyone, including the few talents he had previously recruited or had his eyes on. With this single order, he killed countless loose cultivators, but Wang Wei did not care. He did not want to take risks with an opponent such as Supreme Unity, so he even wiped out his spirit particles, intending to condense new ones. He suddenly sensed something. It seems I made the right choice. He just realized a few people survived his attack. How could ordinary loose cultivators survive his method? There must be something wrong with these survivors. Lord? Wang Qi asked with a pale expression. He was the Fate Exchanging Hall liaison, so he noticed it when so many people died. He also knew the source, but he did not understand why. We are facing a terrifying enemy, and no amount of caution is enough, Wang Wei replied calmly. His eyes and tone were cold or indifferent, just calm, as if he had something as simple as sipping tea instead of killing millions of cultivators. But, did we have to kill all of them? My power is not enough to determine who has a problem or not, so this is the simplest, most direct, and most effective approach. Wang Wei also felt some pain. The hall was one of his ways to build his team so that he had some power before returning to the sect. He did not want to play politics, and having Paragon's strength and his own team would make incorporating into the sect much easier. However, he had to sacrifice them. Wang Wei then turned his eyes to his current team. He saw fear in the eyes of people like the Flesh Demon, and he understood their mindset. Unlike Monk and his wife, these people were controlled by him, meaning they could also be killed instantly once they became a liability. I know what you're thinking and feeling, and I also know that you won't feel secure no matter what I say, Wang Wei said to the team. But I still must say it. I am not cruel, but I will be due to the circumstances. So, try to act less suspiciously from now on. No, better yet, from now on, all meetings will occur with a projection while I'm hiding somewhere else. Patriarch, is this really necessary? Wang Qi asked. This is not about trust, Wang Wei said, already guessing what he's thinking. We are dealing with powers beyond our very understanding, so this level of precaution is the bare minimum. Wang Wei turned to Dulgun. Do you have an opinion on my approach? No problem, she answered truthfully. She admired his decisiveness and ruthlessness, feeling much she and Monk could learn from. Wang Wei nodded after detecting she was not telling the truth. I have a mission for you guys, Wang Wei continued. You need to help protect these mortal civilizations from any accident. He distributed a map to everyone. Dulgun, you can contact your clan to see if they can help. No problem. One more thing, Wang Wei said. He raised his hand and reduced the cause and effects between him and this team. Just like how the hall's members can be used against him, it's the same for the people he controlled, so he needed to take precautions. Although he did not know how effective such an approach was, it was better than nothing. Everyone felt a slight weight lifted from their shoulders. Most did not know what just happened, but the ones who did not explain, and Wang Wei was not about to either. After all, he could be accidentally revealing information to the enemy. Alright, everyone is dismissed except for Red Mask, Wang Wei ordered, and once he was left alone with his shadow, he handed her 2 talismans. I need you to monitor and even capture these people. Use your best judgment for what to do. Wang Wei was interested in the people who survived. He knew they did not do so with longevity resources since his spirit particle should have remained in their souls once they revived. The second talisman contained the location of the Dao imprints of all the emperors and empyreans from the hall. Create a team to eradicate these people. Wang Wei did not think these people would be able to grow to the point that they could avenge him, but he would not leave such an obvious flaw for someone with a destiny to grow and come back. I understand, Red Mask nodded. Wang Wei dismissed her, taking this moment to think. What happened with the fate-changing hall is more than enough proof for him that his paranoia was warranted. He cannot directly detect the means of transcendence, he can only rely on his deduction and cautious nature. I need a new hiding place, Wang Wei thought. He was not joking when he said he would only attend future meetings using a projection. Swish! Red Mask suddenly appeared in the room, and a terrifying power immediately pressed her to the ground, followed by a frightening killing intent locked on her before disappearing. I almost killed you, Wang Wei said as he removed his methods and stopped his attack. He also realized his nerves were too tense. Sorry about that. Did something happen? Red Mask took a moment to regain her bearing. She knew how strong her lord was. After all, she had borrowed his power a few times in some missions, so she knew, especially after his recent retreat. However, it was a different experience from using that power to its full force being directed toward her. Wang Wei felt the dread in her soul and waved his hand to release a subtle soul power that soothes her spirit. I'm fine, sir, Red Mask said slowly. What is the emergency that made you return unannounced? War, she replied. Someone has declared war. Who? It's. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1367 War. Five Feathers sat lazily on her throne, with all her subjects patiently waiting for her. She looked normal, but that's only because she was only using a projection. She still refuses anyone to meet her true self. Ambassador Blue Phoenix has returned, someone announced in the meeting. Five Feathers' demeanor changed after hearing these words. Bring her in, she ordered. A woman dressed in all black with blue hair walked into the meeting room. She had a cold and indifferent facial expression, and a chill emanated from her body as if she were not a person but a million-year-old ice block. Well? Five Feathers asked in annoyance. She had never been able to read Blue Phoenix's facial expression since it's always the same. Usually, she found this fact intriguing since it was boring to always know what your subordinate thinks, but today, she was only annoyed. Unfortunately, her excitement would not affect Blue Phoenix's eternally frozen face. He refused, Blue Phoenix answered calmly. Damn it, Five Feathers roared, releasing a terrifying aura that scared everybody present. Why did he refuse? Blue Phoenix was one of the few who remained unaffected and answered. He said that seeing you suffer is the best reward. No matter what you offer, he will not give you the cure. Five Feathers clenched her fist. A part of her expected this answer from that bastard undead phoenix, but she did not expect after lowering her head and offering such a high price, he still refused. Does he think she was a soft persimmon? Good, 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 undead phoenix, she said with gritted teeth before calming down. There was still hope. Five Feathers looked at these people. How is the Red Phoenix's situation? She said it would take a few days to get an answer. A few days? I can still wait, Five Feathers said calmly before her eyes shifted to a small group in the room. This group was an anomaly in this meeting because everyone had a peaceful aura, and their eyes contained the light of wisdom. Anyone who saw them could tell they were scholars who spent most of their time reading books and comprehending scriptures. Have you found anything? Five Feathers asked. Your Majesty, we've combed through all the records, and the solution we gave you was the only one we could think of. In other words, you're useless, Five Feathers said with gritted teeth. She could no longer hide her curse since she noticed her strength was weakening and the suffering was intensifying. So, she contacted these people to find a solution, but their answer was a bunch of nonsense. According to them, this curse was a curse of destiny, and a curse of sin, cast by a paragon that held tremendous destiny and importance to the world. So, if she wants to remove it, besides the original cure, she would need the help of at least 4 sages, and have them pardon her sins. The scholarly group lowered their heads while Five Feathers looked at them with killing intent. Ultimately, she did not eliminate them. The world situation was chaotic, and it was unwise to eradicate a group of knowledgeable people. So, she closed her eyes and waited for a few days until Red Phoenix returned. Everyone waited quietly. Typically, these people with powerful cultivation could still stand for years, but under the natural pressure emanating from Five Feathers' volatile mood, many people started sweating after a few hours. Some people had to secretly take a few pills to last for the entire 5 days. Then, these ministers heard the greatest sound in the world: Ambassador Red Phoenix has returned. The result? Five Feathers asked, her expression and eyes extremely cold. The Lord said there is nothing she can do, no matter the price offered. Is that so? Five Feathers answered, her voice still unforgettably calm. We surrendered to you and followed your orders, but you cannot help us in our time of need? Okay. Her eyes glow red, an indication of her madness. Now that she had the last hope of using power beyond the Paragon realm to remove that curse forcefully, Five Feathers had lost her last strand of reason. Summon all the Color Phoenix commanders and mobilize all our military forces, Five Feathers suddenly announced. Since he doesn't want to give it to me, they'll take it from his corpse. She stood up from her throne before dispersing. A few seconds later, a new Five Feathers appeared, but her expression was pale, and she had weird tattoos on her neck and arms. She looked at the group of scholars. Is there a way to temporarily seal this curse to prevent it from affecting my strength? The scholars looked at each other and swiftly communicated with each other. Then, an elderly woman, who seemed quite influential among them, stepped up to speak. If you only want to seal it temporarily, there are 2 ways we can think of. However, she stopped and did not continue. Speak. Five Feathers ordered. The first way is to do goods and gather merit. Heaven and earth think you are the ultimate sinner, believing you killed Paragon Jimin, who was the embodiment of hope for this era. If you do enough good, you can be forgiven, and the curse will be lifted. How much good are we talking about? And how long will this method take? The elderly scholar did answer, but her silence was more than enough. Tell me the second method. The scholar hesitated again, but she swiftly explained when she saw the impatience in Five Feathers' eyes. The second approach is to do the opposite and follow a path of extreme. What do you mean? Be more straightforward. There is a devil cultivator's technique called the body of sin, the scholar explained. By cultivating it, you can absorb the curse and use it for your power. Five Feathers' eyes shone brilliantly, and after seeing this, the scholar quickly explained, this method is similar to drinking poison to cure a poison. Five Feathers calmed down. Explain. This method can indeed achieve what you want, but their curse will eventually backlash with even more force. Your Majesty can continue to absorb more sins to delay the backlash, which will only increase its potency. Eventually, this method will not be able to delay it again, and by then, I'm afraid the backlash will instantly wipe you out, Your Majesty. Is that so? Five Feathers muttered. No one could tell what she was thinking. There is still some hope, another scholar said as he stepped to the front. The world has changed, making it easier to absorb others' destiny. If Your Majesty can eliminate Undead Phoenix and take his destiny and luck, you can use it to delay the backlash for an extended period to find another solution. So, what you're saying is that this war is my only choice at surviving, Five Feathers said with a cruel smile. Excellent. Let's start. Where is the body of sin? Since you mention it, I assume we have a copy? Yes. Let's begin. Wang Wei read the information about this war. It was very sudden. Five Feathers seemed to have become crazy and rallied all her troops and started fighting the core territory of Undead Phoenix. A war? I expected them to fight, but not a direct war, Wang Wei thought with a frown. These people are technically Supreme Unity subordinates, so Wang Wei figured they could fight between themselves but not to the point of destabilizing the entire situation. Maybe she's doing it on purpose, Red Mask said. Oh. We have received news that one of the Color Phoenix commanders visited Seven Cauldron. Five Feathers probably wanted to use her power as a vessel to cleanse the curse. Are you saying after she failed, she used this war to attract his attention and ask them to remove the curse? Red Mask nodded. You may have a point, but I have a bad feeling about this war, Wang Wei said. He trusted his intuition, so there must be a reason he was feeling that way. Anyway, this war is our advantage. The mortals need time to grow, and this is a great distraction. We can also take this opportunity to save the mortals leaving in these two's territories. This is also an opportunity for us to infiltrate their ranks, Red Mask added. Many people die or disappear during a war, making it the perfect time for the Fate's Shadow Guards to replace the enemy's people and infiltrate their ranks. You know what to do, so I won't comment much, Wang Wei nodded. However, don't forget to keep an eye on the others. I need to know as soon as one of them intends to participate in this war or muddy the pie for their advantage. As you wish. Red Mask disappeared, and Wang Wei sent a message to the team to continue their work of helping the mortals. Then, he left the Dao burial ground to watch this war's development. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1368 The Anomaly. Wang Wei was not the only one paying attention to this war. The entire world tuned in. Five Feathers madness meant the war spread quickly and widely in just a few months. So, everyone watched and waited patiently. Wang Wei sat cross-legged on some unknown dimension that was surrounded by countless ceiling arrays and a potent heaven-deceiving array. A mirror floated before him as he watched the commander battle between the two sides. On one side was Five Feathers' 5 phoenixes, white, red, blue, yellow, and green. Opposite them were Undead Phoenix's 5 undead kings, Purple Zombie King, Gold Banshee Queen, Silver Evil Spirit Sovereign, Black Soul Sucking Tyrant, and the Iron Bone Dragon Monarch. All these 10 people were peak Emperors, with a few even being everlasting Empyreans, meaning they were the peak power level in this war besides their leaders. Something is indeed wrong, Wang Wei thought. He noticed that the undead kings use their pseudo-immortality, they can't die due to their connection with the undead phoenix, to fight like madmen who did not care for their injuries. Additionally, as undead, they did not feel or know fear or pain in the first place. Undead Phoenix seems worried about Five Feathers' sudden change in how she did things, so he used his men to test her out, Wang Wei analyzed. He wants to kill one of the color phoenixes as soon as possible to tip the top powerhouse battle on his side. If one of the phoenixes dies, one undead king will be free to slaughter the enemy's army or legion. By then, Five Feathers would have no choice but to find another way to stop the undead king or intervene herself. However, the phoenix seems to choose a more defensive way of fighting, Wang Wei continued. It's almost as if they are stalling for time. Are they waiting for backup? Or is Five Feathers planning something major? Wang Wei thought about it before sending orders to Red Mask. He wanted her to focus all her time on finding Five Feathers' location. Then, Wang Wei changed the location of his dimension, just in case. His eyes then shifted to one of the phoenixes, White Phoenix. Years ago, I planted something on her to use as a chess piece. Should I activate it now? Wang Wei hesitated. He put that mark on her a long time ago, and he feared it may have been discovered. It's worth the risk, Wang Wei thought. He still remembered the bad feeling he had about this war. Wang Wei observed White Phoenix and waited until the battle reached the most intense and activated the particle. He forcefully invaded her sea of consciousness, activating the restrictions placed on her soul and memories. Wang Wei did not care and destroyed the limits, leaving cracks all over her sea of consciousness. He then focused on gathering information from the last few months. Damn it, all of those are useless, Wang Wei thought as he hurriedly gathered as many memory pieces as possible until he found fragments of what he wanted. Scholar, Tree Curse. Body of Sin. Wang Wei felt he was so close to the truth, and a little bit more, he could see the entire picture. However, his rationale took over. He knew the consequences of letting greed dictate his actions. So, he stopped himself and eliminated the spirit particle before expeditiously changing the coordinates of his residing dimensions. Why do I feel I just escaped a disaster? Wang Wei muttered. He trusted his feelings, so he knew there must be a reason. He suddenly thought of something, so he sent a projection to the previous locale while changing his coordinate for the third time. What did he see? Nothing except an endless void. A terrifying power had annihilated the previous coordinate of his dimension, leaving only an infinite void. The projection looked in the distance and saw 7 cauldron floating above, looking at him indifferently. I see. It seems I have become enough of a nuisance that you want to eradicate me personally, Wang Wei chuckled. I guess I should be proud. You lowly rat. Let's see how long you can hide, 7 cauldron. No, Supreme Unity said. Haven't you heard the saying? Good people die young, while terrible people live 1,000 years. I'm a disaster, so I guarantee I'll live long enough until I'm capable of ripping your spine from your body. Keep testing my patient and see what will happen, Supreme Unity said calmly. I can still overthrow this chessboard by killing everybody, including your sect and loved ones. Why don't you say these words to her? Wang Wei's projection pointed to the east, and as expected, Feng Heng, with glowing golden eyes, showed himself. The two glanced at each other briefly before Supreme Unity disappeared after snorting coldly. Maitreya then focused on Wang Wei. I know you're disappointed in me with how weak my response has been to the current situation. Not really, Wang Wei said. At first, he did blame her, but as time passed and he understood how scary transcendents are, he realized that he was only alive because Maitreya occupied Supreme Unity's 9,999% strength. There is an explanation for this, Maitreya continued, not elaborating whether she believed his words or not. Firstly, I have to admit that I underestimated how much control he had over this world. In terms of scheming, I am indeed not as good as him. Maitreya has long realized she had an antagonized fate with Taoism. All her greatest trials and tribulations originated from them. The real reason, though, is because I'm distracted, Maitreya continued. I noticed an anomaly with our world's branch of the River of Time and have been investigating. Is it an emergency? Yes, Maitreya nodded. My intuition tells me that if I don't find the cause of the anomaly, something terrible will happen. Wang Wei frowned. When you say terrible, on what scale are you operating with? I'm afraid that even someone only level will be affected, maybe even die. Wang Wei's lips twitched. Fate seems to have forgotten that he was only a little Empyrean, so why was it given its problems on the level of transcendence? Could his life have been too smooth, and someone felt he needed more challenges? My time is up, Maitreya said as she looked in the distance. You need to keep an eye on Time Eater, he's more dangerous than you realize. Is he responsible for the anomaly? Wang Wei asked swiftly. No, but although there is no proof, I feel he is involved somehow, Maitreya said while sighing. She wanted to kill Time Eater as soon as she felt the anomaly, but Supreme Unity stopped her. All right, Wang Wei nodded. The glow in Feng Heng's eyes disappeared, and he regained clarity. He looked at his surroundings until he saw Wang Wei. He bowed politely to the other before returning to the sect. What a mess, Wang Wei said as he opened his eyes after canceling the projection. He sighed and waited. He again contacted Red Mask, telling her to find 5 feathers as soon as possible. After the hint he found from White Phoenix's memories, Wang Wei had an inkling of what 5 feathers was going to do, and he hoped he was wrong. A few days later, he sent another projection because Red Mask contacted him. What did you find? We discovered something in the Grand Nirvana world, Red Mask reported. Grand Nirvana world? If I remember correctly, it used to be called the Life Tree Domain and is also the largest area of 5 Feathers territory. That's right. There is an invisible energy barrier that prevents anyone from entering or leaving, Red Mask reported. If 5 Feathers is doing something, this must be the location. Can't you sneak in? I'm sorry, but we've lost a few good agents while trying to, Red Mask reported. It's fine, Wang Wei replied. He won't force his subordinate into an impossible mission. Does Undead Phoenix know about this change? I'll leak the news to him, Red Mask responded. All right. Anything else to report? Yes, she nodded. Regarding those people who survived the hall's cleanup. I've dealt with them. Wang Wei was about to ask more when he suddenly thought of something. You didn't do it personally, did you? I know of the Lord's current cautious nature, so I sent the death squads, and they were ordered to kill themselves after the mission was completed, Red Mask reported. She was connected to the Lord, so Red Mask knew best not to interact with these people. Excellent, Wang Wei praised. Frown now on, hide yourself, and do everything from the shadow. If a mission requires your level of strength, don't show up and use a vessel. I'll provide talismans with my powers. Make sure that the vessel uses the talisman before leaving for the mission. The last thing we want is for that thing to land on the wrong hand. As you wish. Alright, tell me about these people. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1369 War Crimes. The death squads found little information, but we did find some suspicious aspects, Red Mask stated. 2 of them recently had a fortunate encounter. We don't know precisely what they found, but it should be how they survived your cleanup and how they probably planned to deal with you. Fortunate encounter? It's a very cliché way of controlling someone. In fact, it seems too simple for someone like him, Wang Wei said. Our analysis is the same, Red Mask added. We believe these 2 were sacrificial pawns to distract you, and the real blow should come from the 3rd individual. What's so special about him? According to the information we gathered, he experienced an epiphany and created a new technique. Epiphany? This is indeed a more subtle way of manipulation, Wang Wei commented. Supreme Unity is now the pseudo-embodiment of heaven and earth, so it should be simple to manipulate someone into an epiphany to create a specific technique, skill, or spell. Wang Wei looked at Red Mask. You should understand what kind of opponent we are facing. Do you know what to do? I do, sir. Good. The 2 ended their conversation, and Red Mask started her work. After leaking the information to Undead Phoenix, she reorganized the Fate Guard's operations. Security and caution will become the norm. The Fate Shadow Guard will also have a new emergency system, Paranoid Mode. Once activated, all personnel, missions, and procedures will be done with extra care. This event also signals that they are facing a mighty enemy. Of course, all of these are for the future. Red Mask is only laying the foundation. Once she succeeds, her power and influence will be on par, if not more powerful than Wang Ju before her reincarnation. The war suddenly escalated. After receiving the information, Undead Phoenix sent someone to check if the news was correct. He tried to have his people infiltrate that area, but after failing, he no longer wanted to wait. So, he directly attacked the area. The entire world watched as he floated outside the energy barrier surrounding the Grand Nirvana world. 5 Feathers looked at Undead Phoenix from a distance and frowned. I wanted to gather more, but this should be enough. She was confident in her Paragon array, knowing that even if the latter used his best trump card, it would take him a few hours to break through and enter. Little chicken, aren't you going to greet me? Undead Phoenix's voice echoed between heaven and earth. Usually, 5 Feathers hated when anyone, this bastard especially, called her a chicken. However, she did not care this time, or at least she did not show it. A red light flashed from her eyes, and she ignored him. She floated in the sky and condensed her power. With a single thought, 5 Feathers released a torrent of soul attacks, instantly dispersing the souls of all the mortals in her territory. Everyone looking at this war, including Wang Wei, was shocked. During the last era, the Overlords divided the world into 13 parts, and each of their territories contained 269 trillion realms. However, this was not the full extent of their territory. The world was too vast and complex to divide, so everyone came together and agreed on the size of a realm. According to the previous division, the smallest realm will have a minimum size of 100,000 times the lower dimension. Anything smaller than that will not count as a realm, and no one will care about it. The Great Nirvana world, once called the Life Tree Realm, was one of the biggest realms under the control of the Myriad Clan Union. How vast was that territory? How many mortals did it contain? Yet, the mad Five Feathers instantly killed all of them. Even worse, she seems to have secretly moved mortals from other territories before committing such atrocities. Wang Wei's eyes were red as he watched this happening. His anger and killing intent almost shattered his residing dimension. Luckily, he controlled himself fast enough and moved his coordinates. Damn this mad woman, he cursed. I'll fucking kill her. He was desperately trying to save more people, but this woman killed so many. More importantly, it is what her actions represent. He could foresee how many people would become emboldened after seeing how she wantonly killed these mortals without a care in the world. Wang Wei exhaled to calm down. Everything has a reason, so he wanted to know why she was acting this way, and he soon found his answer. In some way, this was his fault. Great Nirvana World, Five Feathers absorbed the endless red light symbolizing karmic sins and completed the body of sin. A look of relief and desire flashed in her eyes. The pain and sense of weakness is finally gone, she muttered as she clenched her fists. What's more, I can feel my strength has increased. So, how powerful will I be after doing this a few times? The desire for power was almost palpable. However, she controlled herself before looking in the distance. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, let's test out this newfound power. Swish. Five Feathers disappeared, and before Undead Phoenix could react, she materialized above him with her hands clad in this dark red flame. She slapped him with such tremendous force that he flew a few million light years before crashing on the ground. The shockwave from his crash should have been devastating for the mortals in that area, but there were none. However, countless unlucky cultivators pay the price instead. Karmic flame? No, it should be Karma Sin Flame, Undead Phoenix analyzed as he slowly stood up. He had a deep frown on his face despite the fact this attack only left minor bruises on his arms. She never had this kind of power before. The power has indeed increased, but it seems the fusion between the sins and my flame Dao is far from perfect, Five Feathers thought. In that case, let's use this fight to get to know my new powers. Wrath of the Dark Phoenix, a dark red phoenix manifested above her and screeched. The phoenix's voice is often described as one of the most beautiful sounds in the world. Most phoenixes' cries also have magical abilities, including healing, removing negative attributes, or even blessing. However, this one was the opposite of beautiful. The best way to describe it was the amalgam of countless voices mixed in with a bird chirping. Undead Phoenix immediately sensed a soul attack from that sound. Numerous creatures embodying all the resentments and grievances of the mortals Five Feathers killed appeared in his sea of consciousness, trying to corrode it and destroy his soul. Undead Phoenix's response to this attack was calm, even nonchalant. His Dao involved a small portion of life and death, so Five Feathers' attempt to affect his soul could be described as shoddy to someone like him. So, he controlled his soul to release a green flame that enveloped all these resentments. Then, these souls immediately knelt on one knee before Undead Phoenix's soul. On my name, the Undead Phoenix, I grant you life as the resentment ghost. Come to being and avenge the one who has wronged you. The resentments left his sea of consciousness and fused into one. Then, an unknown power descended and blessed him, turning him into a new creature. It was all black, and its body resembled a black cloak with countless screaming faces constantly popping in and out. The creature then looked at Five Feathers. The blue soul flame in its eye socket did not prevent anyone watching from sensing its anger and resentment. The dark phoenix frowned as she looked at this abomination. She was worried. She could tell this creature was her antithesis. It was the backlash of her actions, meaning if she faced her, she'd probably suffer tremendously and might even lose the power she just acquired. I just got this power and haven't fully mastered it, so it's not wise to fight such a creature, Five Feathers analyzed. She swiftly analyzed the issue, but it was another problem to think of a solution. The creature rushed toward her, and Five Feather chose to evade until she found a countermeasure. Meanwhile, Undead Phoenix had a creepy smile on his face as he enjoyed her embarrassing situation. Keep running, little chicken, until you can't run anymore. Then, I'll finally have my revenge, he sneered. While Undead Phoenix had lost himself in his vice, Five Feathers was relatively calm, unlike her. However, whether it was the result of the body of sin, or a byproduct of her newfound strength, she acted like a seasoned fighter and remained calm and composed while trying to find a solution. Five Feathers wasn't too bright, and her battle IQ was questionable, so it took some time to find a solution. Luckily, she could draw from experience, to be precise, the experience from her time at the frontier. She once witnessed how one of the invaders dealt with Undead Phoenix's undead army, and she was inspired. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1370 Survive. Five Feathers waved her hand to mobilize her Earth Dao and created an enormous stretch of dark piles of earth floating in the void before reciting an incantation. Everything will eventually return to Earth, the body, the soul, man's wealth and treasure, and that also includes their sins and resentments, Earth's reincarnation. Many people watching this battle were shocked. Five Feathers successfully used Earth Dao to control Reincarnation Dao. Such manipulation is often expected with geniuses, especially when it involves high Daos, like reincarnation, but they saw it from someone unexpected. These people now finally understood when their ancestors warned them with the saying, "Paragons are paragons, no matter how weak or terrible they are or looked." Five Feathers' maneuver proves that no simple individual can reach this realm. The resentment creature screamed as a powerful force pulled him toward the earth. It tried to resist, but the pull was its antithesis, just as its existence was contrary to Five Feathers. Then, with one last look of unwillingness and anger, the creature flew toward the earth. Undead Phoenix realized what was happening and decided to do something about it. Sadly, it was too late. Five Feathers rushed toward him, and their fists clashed, generating shockwaves that tore apart the spatial integrity of their surroundings. Why is her flesh so powerful? Undead Phoenix asked before realizing that the karmic sins must have tempered with her body. Adding that she was a phoenix with a decent fleshly body, Five Feathers was now considered a somewhat accomplished impure body refiner. "You damn pest," Undead Phoenix roared. He summoned a bone trident followed by a pair of bone wings. He ignored the summon from the earth above him. Such a new technique was not enough to affect him. "I'm done playing around with you," he said with gritted teeth. He teleported before her and stabbed his trident with all the force he could muster. Five Feathers' face became serious as she sensed this attack contained the power to strip her of her vitality. She summoned a sharp golden sword with a tinge of red made from her metal Dao and weaved some karmic sins into it. Clink. The sounds of metal clashing reverberated across this realm, leaving devastating effects. Some parts of this area instantly lost their vitality, meaning that mortal cultivators immediately lost most of their lifespans and died of old age, while immortals aged and became weaker. Additionally, the soil lost its moisture, meaning that from now on, unless someone fixes this area, these places will be dead and cannot grow any normal or spiritual food or herbs. The area touched by Five Feathers did not fare much better. Her metal sword embodied one of the main characteristics of Gold Dao, sharpness. However, Five Feathers went even further by using the power of resentment to boost her sword's cutting power. As such, the places that the attack reached were cut into particles smaller than atoms, leaving nothing in sight, including matter, energy, and even time and space. Undead Phoenix felt a sense of shame and anger. This woman has always been weaker than him, and the only reason he had not avenged himself was due to the restriction or balance of the others. Now, he could do so, but he was failing. How could he accept that? How many nights did he spend thinking about what he would do to this woman once he had the chance? Fate had given him the chance, but it also laughed at him. "I must kill you," Undead Phoenix roared after Five Feathers blocked another attack. The world suddenly turned black and white, and a spatial tear appeared above Undead Phoenix, showing a towering phoenix. The odd thing about that creature was it was all bones, but that only increased the deathly aura. The beast opened its bony mouth to fire a black beam, instantly raising 5 feather senses to the highest level. "I'm going to die" was the first thing that popped into her mind, and no matter what she did, she could not remove this idea, no, this sensation from her soul. She immediately used her most potent defensive measure by connecting herself to the earth of the entire world. 5 feather soon noticed it was easier, especially the initial connection. She instantly figured out that was because she had a deep connection to the grand nirvana world after wiping out all mortals from this place. Her focus did not remain on this aspect since the sense of danger did not dissipate. 5 feather added her other Dao to this technique. With her metal Dao, she could connect to all the ores and veins on the ground. The water Dao allowed her to communicate with all rivers, oceans, and water sources. Finally, the wood Dao granted her access to all plants, forests, and so on. With all these things or concepts protected, 5 feather felt safe but realized that even this was not enough. "Damn it, what kind of technique is this?" she complained. Little did she know that Undead Phoenix had been brewing this technique for countless yuan epochs for this one chance at killing her. "I can't die, not now," 5 feathers thought with gritted teeth. She still had a few lives to live, so dying was not that much of an issue. The problem was the curse and the body of sin. If she died now, she knew the curse backlash would instantly activate and wipe her out from the face of the world. "What can I do?" 5 feathers thought. While on the verge of death, she forced herself to remain calm and pushed her ability to the limit. Her eyes shone as she found the answer. While on the verge of death, she used all her karmic sins to understand a little bit of Karma Dao. If this understanding were quantified, it would probably equal less than 2% Grand Dao Source, but that was enough. With this new Daos, 5 feathers realized she could not access all the karmic sins she had done in her life. She and all the other moons committed many terrible things during their reign, but now, she could use these things. She did not hesitate to empower her 5-element nature defense technique. Boom! A shockwave traversed heaven and earth, bringing back the color that had been lost. The devastation was catastrophic, to say the least, but most capable cultivators had already left. A maniacal laughter full of joy and a hint of sneer echoed between heaven and earth. "I survived. I survived. You bastard, you thought you could kill me? Ha 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 ha." 5 feathers only had a few wounds on her body. By any standards, they were minor, especially for a paragon. Meanwhile, Undead Phoenix had a contorted face. His skin had basically turned red from the pale shade, showing how high his anger had reached. "I'll kill you," he roared, his voice more bestial than human. However, 5 feathers calmly teleported away, leaving a few words that echoed in the surroundings. "This battle was fun, so let's do it again after I've truly mastered my new strength." Undead Phoenix roared again, his voice shaking heaven and earth. His madness had reached another level after losing his target, and it was apparent that he was about to go on a rampage. However, before he could start, he felt a killing so cold and terrifying that it sent a chill down his spine and awakened his wisdom. He looked around, trying to find the source to no avail. However, Undead Phoenix knew that something terrible would happen if he started killing people without rhyme or reason. So, he took one last glance in 5 feathers' direction before returning to his territory. Wang Wei's invisible projection took one last glance at him before dissipating. 5 feathers had already killed so many mortals, and he could not have someone else go on a rampage. Wang Wei sat alone in his dimension. The chill in the surrounding hadn't abated in the slightest. He knew he needed to do something, or the good situation he had created would be destroyed. "First, I need to put a damper on these cultivators, who will become emboldened after this war and start to hunt mortals to increase their lifespan," he muttered. "And the best way to do so is to use cruelty." Wang Wei waved his hand to summon countless subordinates, all immortals with a few tier 11, including Empyreans. These people were the creation lifeforms that survived the tribulation during his previous retreat. He sent orders directly into their mind. "This is the first true mission I've given you. Don't disappoint me. We will not let you down, Creator," they said in unison. Wang Wei dismissed them before changing his location. The next step is also to dampen Five Feathers' ambitions. I can't have her keep slaughtering mortals. He gritted his teeth, thinking about what just happened. Wang Wei also understood why Supreme Unity did not stop these two from fighting, since their war would complete his objective. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know, report, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1371 More War Crimes. Five Feathers sat on her throne with a smile on the corner of her mouth. She calmly listened to the reports of the war situation. Overall, their sides were not doing well due to the nature of Undead Phoenix's legions, but she did not mind. It was still possible to sever the connection between the undead legions and him, but it took time and sometimes many resources. Five Feathers muttered as she noticed something. How dare you show up before me? She disappeared and teleported to an area not far from her castle. How dare you show up before me after what you did to White Phoenix? Five Feathers said with a terrifying killing intent. She's fine, isn't she? Wang Wei replied. A soul collapse was not enough to kill someone of White Phoenix's caliber, especially since she had access to resources to revive herself. Do you think you can deal with our animosity with just a few words? Five Feathers sneered. It seems your new strength has gotten over your head, Wang Wei sneered as he looked her in the eyes. Did you forget who is in front of you? Do I need to remind you? Five Feathers' body visibly paused for less than a second before she regained her bearing. What do you want? She decided not to bother him since she only faced a projection. After all, killing it won't have much of an effect. I came here to warn you, Wang Wei responded directly. Stop this mass killing of mortals or face the consequences. Is this a joke? Do I look like I'm joking? Wang Wei replied as his eyes turned cold. The killing intent he released was even scarier than the one he used on Undead Phoenix. Killing intent is a unique ability of most cultivators, and it usually forms due to how many people someone has killed. Wang Wei is young compared to most top powerhouses, and his personality that generally solves problems with talking means he has not killed as many people even compared to some of his peers. So, why was his killing intent so fierce? There are two answers to that, the first of which is he can access his killing intent as the Myriad Devourer. In that void, he destroyed countless worlds and killed too many people to count. However, most of his experiences as the Devourer are still sealed, meaning it's not the primary source of his killing intent. The main source of power comes from his killing potential. If someone with his strength and mind wishes to kill someone, few people can survive. That's why his killing aura is so intense and potent. Five Feathers calmly looked at him, not affected in the least. Then, she started laughing maniacally. You cursed me, and I finally found a way to solve the curse, and you're telling me to stop. He. I will die either way, so why should I listen to you? Wang Wei frowned. He understood better than most how scary someone on the verge of death is, let alone a paragon with so much power and resources. If I don't do something else, this mad woman won't care about my threat. There are plenty of cultivators for you to kill, Wang Wei said. Not as much as mortals, and it's harder to form karmic sins from killing them, Five Feathers replied. Not mentioning how much easier it is to kill mortals. That's easy to solve, Wang Wei said. You just need to manufacture a curse that operates like a plague and ensure it targets only people with cultivation. Such a vile act is enough for you to build negative karma from killing a vast amount of cultivators. Wang Wei had long made the hard choice of abandoning most of the loose cultivators for the mortals. Most cultivators from a sect or faction have access to longevity resources or can seal themselves to wake up in the next era. Only loose cultivators or people from weak factions have no choice but to kill mortals to extend their lifespan. So, Wang Wei made the rational decision to abandon these people and save the mortals who are the backbone of the cultivation civilization. As long as they survive, all factions in the world will have a pool of talents, and new loose cultivators can also arise from them. A plague curse? Five Feathers muttered with shining eyes. This was an excellent idea. Anyway, I've warned you, Wang Wei continued. If you don't heed my words, I promise you, no matter the price I have to pay, I'll eliminate you from this earth as soon as possible. Five Feathers calmly watched the projection disappearing, leaving her to her thoughts. No one knew what she was thinking, but she stayed there for a few seconds before returning to the meeting hall and announcing, "Summon all the curse masters under our control." The ministers looked at each other, wondering what had happened to the Lord, but no one dared ask. Then, someone stepped up and said carefully, "Lord, you recently killed all the curse masters." Five Feathers frowned as she remembered she did kill all these rubbishes once they could not find a cure for her. "In that case, put an announcement outside that we are hiring more of them, and tell the world that I will sign the most restrictive contract to ensure these people's safety." "As you wish." Pure Death Realm, Undead Palace. Undead Phoenix sat on his throne, releasing a terrifying aura. His world was slowly crumbling, mentally speaking. That attack was his life's work. He was sure he could kill her because he developed it specifically for Five Feathers and spent countless years concentrating its power, similar to a swordsman who nourished his sword for one attack. That attack should have ended all his pain and suffering, but it failed, but that was not even the worst part. If it were before, Undead Phoenix would have been confident that his strength was enough to avenge himself still, but he was no longer confident. His intuition told him that this was his best opportunity, and after missing it, it would become more challenging to kill her from now on. "Lord, someone outside wishes to see you." "Who?" Undead Phoenix asked instinctively while still being lost in his thoughts. "Forget it, I won't see any visitors." The announcer hesitated briefly before continuing. "The visitors said they have a solution to your problem. They offered this as proof." The announcer opened his palm to show a slight golden light, which immediately made Undead Phoenix squint after detecting the nature of this light. He also guessed who this visitor was, and after hesitating, he accepted the meeting. Great Shu Divine Dynasty, Supreme Yin Palace, Royal Garden. Shu Ren was staring at a screen before him in a small pavilion next to a table with 2 teacups. While watching the battle, he was shocked by how strong Five Feathers had become, but this was not his main focus. Her technique of using Earth Dao to manipulate Samsara Dao has inspired him. Earth Emperor, I should have thought about it since it's in the title, Shu Ren thought. There are also records that in the first era of this world, before the world was complete, people could reach Samsara by digging through the earth. I thought such information was insignificant, but it was the crux of the issue. Shu Ren shook his head. "Regardless, with this idea, I may be able to perfect my 9 hells into true samsara." "Your Majesty, why are you smiling? Did something good happen?" "You can say that," Shu Ren replied with a smile, looking dotingly into Shu Shu's eyes. "In that case, have a dream berry. Maybe it will make you even happier." She peeled this silver grape that was releasing mist and handed it to him. Shu Ren opened his mouth with a smile and let her feed him. "You're right, it did make me happier," he announced. "I'm glad I can help you." Supreme Yin Palace, 9 Nether Sparrow Hall. The Empress, dressed regally in black and red, was slowly tending to her gardens. She was slow and meticulous, showing how much she cared about each of these plants. A maid slowly followed her, and the Empress was used to her. "Where is His Majesty now?" Empress Ningjing asked. "In the royal garden," the maid replied. "With her?" "Yes," the maid answered in a low voice. "I see," Ningjing nodded before continuing to her lovely flowers. "Your Highness, do you want me to? With our power, it's impossible to eliminate her, but we can still inconvenience some of her day-to-day life," the maid suggested. "Why would we do such a thing?" Ningjing replied. Throughout Great Shu's dynasty, there were countless empresses, and she was the one who lived the longest. Why? 2 reasons. Firstly, she is the 3rd prince's mother, which provides her with a special layer of protection. However, the primary reason is that Ningjing knew her place. She knew her position had little to no power, so she never fought for it or inconvenienced the emperor in any way. She stayed in her place and never did anything that anyone, including the emperor, could use against her, which is something that the maid should know. Xiao Chu, how long have you been with me? More than 200,000 yuan epochs, the maid replied. A long time, indeed, Ning Zheng sighed. A white light flashed in the garden, and Shua Chu's head fell from her body. The Empress snapped her finger, and a shadowy figure appeared, kneeling before her. Find out who got to her, she ordered. Yes, Lord. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1372 The Different Natures of Cruelty. Chui W. De took a deep breath as he glanced at this new world, and a genuine smile appeared. Before coming out, his creator had properly trained him on the situation outside, and he knew things like the fact his name had the initial character W for Wang, which was proof of his status as a creation life form, would lead to discrimination. However, he did not care about these things. He had reached the pinnacle of his homeworld, and serving the creator outside was the only way to progress. So, when the notice reached the world, even after telling people about the restrictions, Chuida did not hesitate to sign up. Chuida did not waste any more time. He had a mission, and failing at it would be worse than death. He activated one of the abilities his creator granted him, Karma Eyes. He immediately noticed someone in the distance whose karma was rapidly increasing, and without hesitation, Chuida teleported more than 20 million light-years with one step, arriving at his destination after a dozen or so steps. As expected, he witnessed a slaughter. A young man floated above the sky with countless swords surrounding him. The swords descended on the ground like rain, and each one would kill one or more mortals. It did not matter whether they were men, women, or even children. The sword had no mercy and did not discriminate against gender or age. The dead mortals then turned into blood mists, flying to the young man and condensing into blood orbs. The young slaughterer was calm, with no expression. It was as if he were removing the weeds from his front door. You're young and full of vitality. So, why are you resulting in such an act? What's it to you? The young man snapped. However, his face became stiff after sensing the terrifying aura emanating from Chuida. Well, answer me. Yes, sir, there are plenty of these mortals. There is no need to fight between us, right? Do you think I'm a lowlife like you? Chuida sneered. The heavenly fate continent was cruel because the creator rarely interacts, but all cultivators agree upon a hidden rule, to leave the mortals alone. He knew this world was more dangerous, especially since it was facing a catastrophe, but Chuida did not expect it to degenerate to such a level. The young man's stiffness reached his body as he realized he had encountered a righteous cultivator. He cursed his bad luck but did not hesitate to activate his escape secret technique. Sadly, his attempt was futile. The difference in strength was so great that Chuida stopped him with just one look. It seems there is no need for an answer to my question, you just don't see mortals as the same kind. Same king? The young man sneered. Chuida did not listen to his nonsense. Since his curiosity was already satisfied, he performed his mission. With a wave of his hand, the young man's body dissipated, leaving only his soul. Chuida conjured a transparent cauldron before shoving the soul inside. A scream of immense agony echoed in the void, and the voice was that of that young man. The invisible cauldron had a soul-burning flame with no attack potency but made up for it by incorporating powers from Wang Wei's pain talent. The flame brought the ultimate agony to the soul while also keeping it from breaking from the pain. This flame is one of the tortured methods of the Fate's shadow guards, and the creator was not Wang Wei himself but Wang Ju. Chuida frowned at the devastation in the area. He waved his hand and used a combination of earth and wood spells to restore the houses, the fertile land, and the environment. However, the looming sense of dread and darkness did not dissipate even with his actions. It's understandable. After all, they've just lost countless friends, families, and loved ones, Chuida analyzed. In that case, should I revive them? It would not take much energy to rebuild a body for all these mortals, and their souls have not been sent to the underworld, so he could revive everyone who had just died. Maybe this is not a good idea, Chueda analyzed. This world is experiencing great turmoil, and messing with life and death may complicate things. More importantly, this is not part of my mission. These words should have convinced him, but Chueda was still hesitant, especially after seeing a little girl crying while holding some clothes that appeared to be the remains of her parents. He sighed but did not immediately ask. Instead, he contacted his creator and asked for further advice. The answer he received was brief but direct. Your previous analysis was correct. Your actions could complicate things. So, focus on prevention instead of repairmen. Chueda sighed and took one last look at these people. He waved his hand to establish an array around his small kingdom to give them temporary peace and chose a new leader that he blessed with wisdom and luck. After doing all he could, he departed to the following location. His next target was an elderly man as thin as bone with clothes too big for his body. As soon as Chueda laid eyes on him, he knew the man's reason for his actions. Although not justified, it is understandable. Chueda's presence could not be hidden with that terrified voice accompanying him, so the old man immediately noticed him. At first, the old man was calm, thinking that someone wanted to steal his hunting ground, but he was immediately shocked when he saw the invisible cauldron and the tortured soul. With one look, he could tell that the soul was full of karmic sins, and he guessed what had happened or would happen. The old man did not hesitate to use his greatest trump card, an emperor artifact. Although using such a powerful artifact with such weakened chi and blood would accelerate his death, it was better than being killed. As long as he survives, no matter how weak he becomes or how little lifespan he has left, he can make up with them. The world was vast, and there were too many mortals. Chueda did not waste his breath on this man. He used his aura alone to destroy this old man's physical body, and the cauldron automatically absorbed his soul. The two screams of agony should have made Chueda uncomfortable, but on this occasion, he found this cacophony of sounds quite amusing. He swiftly cleaned the environment and settled the mortals before moving to his next target. He found a middle-aged woman burning people with a cold and indifferent face. The smell of searing flesh was rather unpleasant, but Chueda has experienced worse. The middle-aged woman calmly turned to him, glanced at the cauldron behind him, and stood in place. Not going to run? There is no point, she replied coldly. Even though you know your fate. Since I can kill others, I should expect to be killed, she responded, still cold and indifferent. Is that so? Chueda. Don't you feel bad at all? Why feel bad? You've killed children, don't you feel anything at all? In this world, you either are preyed upon or be the prey. They died, not because I was cruel, but because they were weak. Weakness is a sin, she replied calmly. Chueda shook his head. I thought women were supposed to be more caring than men. Cruelty has no difference between men and women. Fair point, Chueda nodded before snapping his finger, and another scream added to the cauldron. I thought you would be able to resist a little. It turns out that in the end, you feel pain, just like the people you mercifully slaughtered. Chueda shook his head in disappointment. For a moment, he thought of giving this woman a swift death because of her reaction and state of mind. And he probably would have done so had she resisted the pain for a little while. Chueda looked at the devastation before him and frowned. It's too slow. He cast a clone spell, creating countless versions of himself. These clones only had the strength of peak quasi-emperor, tier 9, 5, but Chueda figured this was enough for most of these people, unless he encountered some unfathomable genius. If such a situation arrives, I'll just show up with my true body and deal with the threat, Chueda thought to himself before sending his clones away. He also continued his journey. Wang Wei was not the only one who realized the state of the world. Others may not deduce the situation as fast as he, but that's only because they do not have as much information, nor are they directly involved. However, there are many brilliant individuals in this vast world, so many people already understand the crux of this world's catastrophe. These people know they cannot allow the mortals to become extinct, or they will lose this war. So, as more of Wang Wei's lifeforms used this form of cruelty to warn these excited cultivators who became bold after Five Feathers' actions, many of these smart people realized his intention of using violence to warn and control these people and followed suit. With their swift actions, these cultivators quickly calmed down. No one wanted to experience their souls being tortured, and damage to their souls meant they could not reincarnate and would lose the chance to regain the memories from their past lives. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1373 Sudden Negotiation. Wang Wei blended into the void, looking into the distance. His powerful soul allowed him to observe a wide area of the eternal ascension world. Over the past week, he saw how the efforts of his people and the actions of other lineages quickly calmed down the effect of Five Feathers' cruelty. Although a few people tried to play in the dark, these people were swiftly dealt with to ensure the stability of the current situation. Excellent, now, I should be able to focus on training the mortals, Wang Wei thought. It's not feasible for them to rely only on cultivators. Now, these wise factions can work together for the overall situation, but these factions have to support these mortals for everything and for an extended period. Then, it's a matter of time before they become mentally fatigued. The people at the top given the orders might not care about such a thing, but those executing these orders will start behaving differently once they get tired of helping mortals. It may sound like they have no power, but that is far from the truth. Although they cannot directly disobey orders, they have plenty of ways to delay or make it look like an accident. Ultimately, only mortals will suffer in that scenario. So, they must have some levels of self-sufficiency, Wang Wei thought. If only I could use the mortal art Dao. Wang Wei sighed. He hoped his analysis was correct and Heavenly Dao would remove the restriction on the mortal civilization so that it could at least reach Tier 7. The current mortal civilization is only Tier 4, which is useless in the current situation. Wang Wei left his spot to return to his hiding space, and as soon as he sat down, preparing to enter the void illusion realm, he received a message from Red Mask. At first, he thought she was only reporting the current situation to keep him updated until he realized the code used was for critical situations that required his input or decision. So, he followed the previously established safety protocols before contacting by sending a projection to the designated area. What's so important? An ambassador contacted us, Red Mask stated. Ambassador? From whom? Wang Wei asked with a frown. Great Qin. Them? What did they want? No, more importantly, how did they contact us? Red Mask paused briefly. They captured one of our people. Someone betrays us? Or did they break through the agent? Wang Wei knew his fate's shadow guards were well trained, but this world's cultivation system was too old and too developed, so he never had the mindset that his methods were absolute. No, they released the captured individuals to ask for the meeting. Killing two birds with one stone, huh, Wang Wei commented. I will do better, Red Mask promised. There is no need to blame yourself. Our foundation is too weak compared to these ancient lineages. However, you should also not have the mindset that you underestimate anyone, especially the Overlords. I will, Red Mask nodded. What about the meeting? Do you want to refuse? No, I want to know what they want, Wang Wei said. I'll give you a location. However, make sure they follow the appropriate precautionary protocols. Refuse the invitation if they disagree. As you wish. Wang Wei sat cross-legged on a cushion with a small table with a pot and 2 cups. The void twisted, and a handsome middle-aged man with 2 streaks of white hair appeared on the side of his temple. With one glance, Wang Wei could tell 2 things about this man. His natural charm was extraordinary, which was why he probably was an ambassador, and secondly, this man was very annoyed. This feeling increased after laying eyes on him. He's also very arrogant, but he hides it very well, Wang Wei analyzed. He smiled as he invited his guest. Sorry about all this, but please sit down. I've prepared a pot of Dragoner's wine, known for its divine taste. I would have prepared something better, but you understand the current situation. Lord Wang Wei, are you trying to play mind games? What makes you say that? Wang Wei asked calmly as he served the wine. First, it was all those tedious measures you had me take before meeting you. But even when I followed them, you didn't even have the decency to show up personally. Wang Wei sipped his wine. I'm going to assume you know about me. I mean, you've at least researched me before coming to this meeting. I did, but what does that have to do with anything? So, tell me, what do you think would cause someone of my strength and stature to act more cautious than a rat? Wang Wei asked, looking him directly in the eyes. The ambassador's body suddenly paused, and his aggressive aura abated slightly. I understand, but, he paused, trying to build tension. He could not allow his opponent to control the start of this conversation. This is an official meeting. I'm sure there was no need to be so excessive. Even your emperor is hiding in limbo, not fearing to come out. Now, you're telling me that my caution was too excessive. The ambassador almost spit the wine in his mouth. He was speechless with just 2 sentences. He wanted to admonish Wang Wei for speaking about their rulers in such a manner, but then he remembered the latter's identity. Our great emperor, the Black Ancestral Dragon, does not fear anyone, nor is he hiding. The injuries from the ultimate taboo were simply too severe, and he has taken his time to recover, the ambassador said. I bet you wouldn't have the guts to say that if not for this isolated area, Wang Wei retorted, making the ambassador's mouth twitch. Let's get to business, he said, trying to change the subject and regain control of the situation. What was your name? You never introduced yourself, Wang Wei suddenly said. Damn it, this bastard obviously knows my name, the ambassador thought. It's Dong Tian, and am the first executive ambassador of the Great Qin Saint Court. His voice did not hide the pride in his title. I know a very talented woman with the surname Dong, and not many people can bear having such an arrogant title as Heaven, Tian, in their names, Wang Wei calmly commented, but he did not mention anything about the latter's official title. I know your father, you better not say anything that will turn this conversation hostile, Wang Wei warned, and Dong Tian felt a chill down his spine. I was just going to say it was an honor to share the same name as him, Dong Tian swiftly said. Is that so? I guess I'm a little sensitive, Wang Wei calmly stated as he sipped his wine. Meanwhile, Dong Tian breathed in relief before quickly realizing he had lost control of this conversation. He considered himself a master of negotiation, but he had met his match. His mind went on overdrive, thinking how he could regain control. Tell me your purpose in coming here, Wang Wei said. Be straightforward. Is there any hurry? Dong Tian asked, trying to reduce the conversation's temper to regain control. Your presence has increased the possibility of me being discovered. So, speak now or leave as soon as possible. I'm giving you 10 seconds. Lord Wang Wei, this is not how negotiations go. However, Wang Wei calmly looked at him without uttering a word. You see, you've wasted 5 seconds. Dong Tian was about to argue, but his years of experience told him this man was not bluffing. He would be kicked out if he did not get to the point. Our dynasty wishes to offer you our full cooperation, he immediately said. Dong Tian knew the importance of his mission, so he decided not to risk it. We will provide you unimaginable aid in the upcoming confrontation between the mortals and cultivators. You, of all people, should understand how deep the foundation of any of the overlords is. With our full cooperation, you will have a far greater chance of protecting them and saving this world. That is a great offer, Wang Wei nodded. One could say it's the kind that's irrefutable. Exactly, Dong Tian agreed. And what do you want in exchange? Wang Wei asked. We only ask that you promise us something, Dong Tian said. Don't worry. It's not something that goes against your morals or something that will hurt your sect. What you're asking is too vague, Wang Wei shook his head. There is no need to worry. Like I said, we won't ask too much of you. Unless you're more straightforward and tell me what you want, I can't agree to such a vague request, especially since I believe you'll require me to sign a restrictive contract. But it's just for insurance, Dong Tian argued. Like I said, this is too vague. Wang Wei already knew what they wanted, but he wanted to see if he could get more information from them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1374. Don't do anything. Dong Tian frowned, realizing this situation was not ideal. People like Wang Wei are arrogant, believing their futures are boundless. As such, they take unknown promises or restrictions seriously. There is a saying that favors are the most difficult debts to repay, and this situation fits. He pondered briefly before changing the wording of his request. We only require you to procure something for us. The thing is something that only you can acquire, and the process is not dangerous. It seems that I cannot get more information from you, Wang Wei stated directly, making Dong Tian frown. Yes, I do know what you want from me, Wang Wei said. And no, I can't read your mind. Dong Tian's face was gloomy. He could not tell whether this man was telling the truth or whether this was a mind tactic to gain more advantage in this negotiation. No, this is not a mind tactic, Wang Wei added. Your emperor's plan might be top secret to your dynasty and the world, but after you took the demon suppression emperor, many people will be able to deduce what you're planning once they find out what's so unique about her. Dong Tian instantly became gloomy and did not hide his intent to kill. However, Wang Wei just shrugged. Don't be mad at me since it's your fault you were so sloppy when capturing her. You could have been more subtle or made it look like you captured her for something else. Dong Tian controlled his emotions, and thus, his face became deadpan. I need to control myself. Damn it, I should have listened to these old geezer and be more careful. It seems now your emotions are of regret, so what are you regretful for? Wang Wei asked. Is it because of your behavior for this meeting? It seems I'm right. Well, don't blame yourself. Many people are warned to be careful when dealing with my kind, but they rarely listen, and even when they do, it rarely matters. Lord Wang Wei, Dong Tian said, having calmed down his nerves. Now that you know our purpose, what do you think of our proposition? Calming down so quickly, huh? I now understand why you were chosen for this mission, Wang Wei commented before sipping his wine. Well? My answer is no. I don't think this is an issue of price, Dong Tian asked with a frown. That title is not worth much to you, so why not sell it for a high price? I have no problem selling it for a high price, Wang Wei responded. He was telling the truth. The human emperor's path of transcendence does not fit with him, so his title/position of three-realm emperor meant nothing to him. At best, he might be able to create a decent technique about it once he becomes a transcendent. So, if he could get a price worth it, he might be willing to sell or exchange it. So, it is an issue of price, Dong Tian commented. But I think our offer is very sincere. Tell your people how I feel about selling my position. Unless your emperor can take something of equal value, don't even think of getting his hands on it. And don't forget that he's not the only buyer. I'm sure many people walking the sovereign path are interested, and some might want to get their hands on it just to block his transcendent path. I have no obligation to only sell it to him. These words shocked and scared Dong Tian, but that will not change anything. Wang Wei stood up and disappeared. Wait! Dong Tian yelled, but it was too late. Wang Wei was gone, leaving only his voice echoing in the surrounding void as a last warning. You should leave soon since I will be eradicating this dimension. Dong Tian did not think he was bluffing and quickly escaped. Of course, his haste was not only out of a desire to leave that dangerous place but also because he wanted to return home as soon as possible to recount what happened. Dong Tian was in such a hurry that he did not even notice Wang Wei secretly following. Well, even if he were in the correct mindset, it's doubtful whether he would notice. Wang Wei had no interest in Dong Tian's secrets, nor did he think he would find some hidden methods of the Qin dynasty. His only purpose was to prevent someone from framing him. He did not think Great Qin would go to war with him over the death of one ambassador, but it could turn their relationship from neutral to less friendly, and he did not want that, especially if it was not his choice. Luckily, he seemed to be overthinking. Dong Tian reached home without anyone interfering or trying to kill him. So, Wang Wei dispersed the projection following him. As for what Great Qin would do afterward, it was easy to guess. They'll first contact their emperors and tell them about the meeting, followed by listening to his words and trying to cover the demon-suppressing emperor's affairs, although it was too late. Finally, they will get more involved in this catastrophe to ensure they, at the very least, can retain their human emperor position. Wang Wei now had more time on his hand to train the mortal civilizations. The Black Phoenix War, as contemporary historians labeled the current war between the two parasites, continued. The two leaders had not clashed since the last time, but the confrontation between their subordinates led to chaos, leaving a significant area of the world in turmoil. Everyone knew that this clash was building for a climax, and if that clash had no result, everyone would once again start building momentum for the next climax. This process will repeat itself until there is a victor or a major change that either stops the war or shifts to something else. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1375 Loneliness. Over 50 years have passed since the last battle between Undead Phoenix and Five Feathers. For mortals, 50 years equals 3 generations, but for cultivators, this time is not as long as most of their retreat. Typically, the cultivation world operates slowly due to all the immortals and how differently they perceive time. However, many things have changed in the Eternal Ascension world in the past 50 years. Many people now understand that the next Yuan epoch will reveal this world's fate, and the past 50 years have already shown signs of this. Wang Wei sat alone in his dimension, reading about reports. Most of them are about cultivators about to reach the end of their lifespan and becoming more extreme. Instead of focusing on cultivating his technique to a higher level, these people opted for the easy road, killing mortals. Of course, the result was their extermination and the endless torture of their souls. Over the years, many ancient lineages, including most of the Overlords, have become more active in this catastrophe. As such, Wang Wei had plenty of aid and support. These lineages knew what was at stake and wanted to protect themselves and their ancestors. I'm surprised, Wang Wei thought as he looked at one piece of information. The Great Qin dynasty's enthusiasm was not as high as I anticipated. According to reports, the Qin dynasty did help, but their attitude did not seem anxious or worried about the future. Are they doing the bare minimum to keep their titles? Wang Wei analyzed. That also means they know it's possible to have 2 human emperors, and Yingzheng doesn't care about someone else getting it. Things are getting interesting. Wang Wei did not focus too much on the Qin dynasty since he will still have the advantage in whatever future negotiations they will have. Yingzheng needed him, not the other way around. He then shifted his focus to something more important, supreme unity. He's been too quiet, Wang Wei complained. That could be a good sign that his ability to interfere has decreased, but I don't buy it. The last time the latter was so quiet, he showed up with one devastating move. Maitreya, I don't want to blame you, but you can't allow his next move to be as big as the last time, Wang Wei prayed. He did not like this feeling of entirely relying on someone else, of having no strength or ability to control his fate, but he had no choice in the current situation. Wang Wei dealt with all the things he needed to, so he started thinking about his next move. He toyed with the idea of being more active. He could draw supreme unity out if he made enough noise. But what big noise can I make? Wang Wei analyzed. Killing one of these parasites is enough, but such an act has pros and cons. Wang Wei knew Heavenly Tao was helping him share the pressure by allowing others to take on the burden of the parasites, so if Wang Wei started to show up and intervene again, the target on his back would increase. Why are these people taking so long? Wang Wei complained. He wished these people could be as swift as Sun Junyao. Wang Wei knew his complaint was unfair since even Sun Junyao spent countless years slowly planning out her actions. Wang Wei exhaled to calm down. He realized he was too stressed, and his thoughts became anxious. This is a lousy state to be doing anything. Time is not on my side, but there is no need to rush. The longer this peaceful state continues, the higher the chances the mortals have to grow and become independent. Wang Wei took out a jar of wine from his space to drink. His future wife took great care of him and left him many delicacies. Sadly, he had to suppress and seal the effects of his essence spirit flower to prevent lightning from descending from the heavens. It would be nice to have someone to drink with, Wang Wei thought, thinking about people he could drink with. His future wife is sealed, Li Jun and Yan Liling are still in the lower dimension, his parents have disappeared, and Wang Ju has reincarnated, leaving only a few people. I could drink with the ancestors, but there is still a wall of seniority between us, Wang Wei complained. His ancestor, the Sword Empress, was easy to talk to, but she could easily switch her identity and start abusing her seniority. So, Wang Wei reckoned he probably won't be comfortable talking to her until his strength is near her. The only friends I have are Wang Qi and probably Shu Shu, Wang Wei thought. Wang Qi respects me too much, and we cannot even be considered friends. And there is still a barrier between Su Sh and Tu due to our different backgrounds. Is this what the ancients meant when they said that the path of cultivation is lonely? Wang Wei sighed as he continued drinking. Wealth, method, land, and companion, Wang Wei muttered to himself. All cultivators know these are the four fundamentals. You can plunder wealth or methods and even steal a blessing land of cultivation, but the companion part is different. Nothing is more valuable in this long journey than having people you can trust, people that can provide emotional support. Wang Wei enjoyed the taste of the wine, but he could not get drunk. It's not because the wine is not strong enough or does not have the capability, but more like he did not dare. His mental faculty is his greatest asset in these trying times, so he could not allow anything to affect it. Ultimately, he sighed and put the drink away. Since he could not even get a buzz, there was no point in drinking now. Just in time, Wang Wei muttered. He needed something to distract himself, and this communication talisman arrived at the right time. Wang Wei read before frowning. Someone had something important to report but wanted him to arrive personally to see it. After pondering briefly, he decided to show up. Wang Wei teleported to this vast world full of people, but they were all mortals. However, anyone who looks at these mortals can tell they are different from others. Everyone wore silk clothes, their qi and blood were abundant, and their eyes contained the light of wisdom. Additionally, everything around them, from their architecture, transportation, agriculture, etc., reeked of advancement and civilization. 50 years passed outside, but 350 years in this world, and they've already reached this level. Although they only relied on knowledge from the lower dimension, that was still quite a feat. I should praise Du Tsong, Wang Wei thought. Among the many leaders he chose, Du Tsong was indeed extraordinary, hence why he sent one of his people as a protector. Jia Ping, why did you contact me? Lord, you're here. Jia Ping teleported before Wang Wei's projection and saluted. You know the protocols, so get to the point, Wang Wei said. According to the current protocols for contacting his subordinate, conversation must be quick and direct, meaning wasting time in small chat was no longer allowed. I understand, Jia Ping replied. I have two things to report, one about this world's development, and the other is personal and can wait. All right, lead the way. The two flew to a secret laboratory, and Wang Wei saw the young Du Kong mortals in the upper dimension have a lifespan between 500 and 1,000 years, so it was expected that Du Tsong still looked young. Sir, Du Tsong swiftly said before bowing deeply, shocking all the weapon refiners in this lab. They did not expect their influential and majestic leaders to bow to someone else. Jia Ping has done an excellent job at preserving Du Tsong's majesty and never allowed the latter to bow to him publicly, hence the reaction of these mortals. These people immediately became curious and looked at Wang Wei. They were more shocked. Their world worshipped one entity, the guardian deity, and this man looked exactly like him. You did a good job, Du Tsong, Wang Wei praised as he looked at him. Thank you. It's all thanks to your effort. I only laid down the foundation. All the current success is the hard work of you and your people, Wang Wei said. He raised his hand to stop Du Song's flattery and continued, "You should understand the future awaiting you. Your current peace is an illusion." "Lord, don't worry, I know what is at stake," Du Song replied. He knew the future of their world and civilization was endless war. They could not hide in this place and wait until the catastrophe outside passed. "Good," Wang Wei nodded. Although he sent Jia Ping to protect these people, it was also a way to monitor them. Wang Wei did not want the sweet taste of peace to corrode these people and have them abandon their mission. "Now, show me what made you so excited." If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1376 Progress. Du Song led the team, followed by Wang Wei next to him and Jia Ping behind. They stood before a black energy shield that seemed to hide what was inside. "I didn't know you had a flair for the dramatic, Du Song," Wang Wei responded. "This is such a monumental creation, so I couldn't help myself," Du Song chuckled. "Lord, you didn't peek inside, did you?" "Get to the point, Du Song, I'm in a hurry," and "No, I didn't peek," Wang Wei said. "All right," Du Song said as he motioned for someone to reveal what was inside. The black energy shield dissipated, and Wang Wei saw a black armor shining with magic lights. He could tell this was not ordinary armor but one similar to exoskeleton suits with its own power source. "A power armor?" Wang Wei asked. "Power armor? That's an interesting way to call it," Du Song commented. "We call it the rune mechanical armor, but that is not why we call you here." "Lord, haven't you detected the level of this armor?" A tier 5 armor?" Wang Wei asked with shining light. "You've broken the restrictions on your civilization?" "That's right," Du Song nodded. "About 50 years ago, someone accidentally built a tier 5 power source that broke the limit of our records. After contacting Lord Jia Ping, we deduced that there might be hope for us to break our limit and tried. This is the result." Good, Wang Wei repeated. "Have you tested it out in battle?" "Of course." Du Song ordered his people, and a well-built woman walked to the armor and put it on. Then, Jia Ping waved his hand to summon a prisoner with cultivation on par with the divine body realm. The prisoner was promised freedom if he won this battle, so the latter fought for his life. The final result was a tie, which was understandable, given that this armor was the first generation. Not bad, Wang Wei once again praised. "Can you manufacture these armors in large quantities?" "We are currently in the process of reducing the difficulty of the manufacturing process," Du Song said. "Another advantage the upper dimension mortals have over their counterparts is their vast number. As such, even if only a small number of their population can condense their spiritual power and use the power of runes, there are still a large number of them." Due to this large population, Du Song was confident of increasing the refining speed of these armors. "However, we can only build a large number of them with the help of cultivators. Du Song suggested that we capture more cultivators and control them before forcing them into factories to build these weapons," Jia Ping added. "That's not a bad suggestion, but there are some risks. We can be extra careful on how to select these prisoners," Du Song added, trying to persuade him. "I have a better way," Wang Wei said. "You can refine these cultivators' souls into a spiritual power energy source. Your civilization should accelerate its speed of improvement with an endless source of spiritual power." Du Song's eyes lit up. Spiritual power was the key to their civilization. It's why mortals can use runes and control the energies in ores, the environment, and other things. So, it's obvious how such an artifact would drastically benefit them. "Your idea is excellent, Lord, but I don't think we have the technology to refine something like that. I'll have my people refine it for you, and you can study it and try to reverse engineer it," Wang Wei explained. "The spiritual powers of mortals and cultivators differ, so this artifact will require specialized attunement to ensure they can use it." "Thank you, Lord, your glory has blessed us again." Wang Wei did not pay attention to this level of flattery, have you already started thinking about Tier 6 armor? Maybe even Tier 7? I have already shared the design with the other leaders and bases, Du Tsong said. Wang Wei did not want these leaders and different mortal civilization bases to be isolated, so he encouraged them to use the Void Illusion realm to share knowledge and advances. After discussing with the others, we already have a prototype blueprint of a Tier 6 armor, but we are clueless about the next tier, Du Tsong replied. You're stuck at the power of law, right? That's right. I don't think this is a power that mortals can control. Wang Wei did not believe these words. He knew that even technology civilizations could evolve to the point of controlling the power of law. The Rune civilization is a combination of technology and cultivation, and the fact that they can build a Tier 5 armor proves that someone was blocking their path upward, but now, this limitation has been removed. Under normal circumstances, that would be true, Wang Wei replied. With access to cultivators' souls, you can meet the requirement to access and even control laws. You don't need to worry about the effect of laws on your bodies, so that removes another obstacle, leaving only the influence of laws on the mind. Not everyone can control the power of law. Cultivators must have a good enough mental state to prevent themselves from being assimilated by its power. Most mortals cannot reach this level, but it's not impossible. You need to start developing methods to train willpower and the mental state, Wang Wei suggested. Unlike the mortals on Earth, these people have a long lifespan, meaning their state of mind can still reach the level of controlling laws. Will that work? Du Tsong asked, his eyes shining with hope and desire. It should. Plus, it'll leave my people preaching to you about the law, that should accelerate things. Great, Du Tsong said with a smile that showed all his teeth. Lord, have you forgotten the lock? Jia Ping suddenly said. It's possible that the act of mortals understanding the law is interpreted as cultivating, or increasing strength, thus activating its effect. Du Tsong's smile was gone, and he swiftly said, Aren't you exaggerating a little? We have acquired a great deal of knowledge and increased our strength, but nothing has happened to us. That's probably because Heavenly Tao has been protecting you, Jia Ping responded. However, once your civilization reaches the level of law, this will be another matter. Whether you wish or not, his gaze will be directed at you. Du Tsong was quiet, not hiding his unwillingness in his facial expression. We don't know that for sure. Do you want to take the risk? Jia Ping is right, Wang Wei finally spoke. We cannot take the risk. So, this is it? Our limit will always be Tier 6. Wang Wei glanced at him. Du Tsong was obviously an ambitious man. Rather, he wanted his people to have the power to control their destiny. In the latter's mind, he probably wants his mortal civilization to be on par with cultivators. Wang Wei would not burst his bubble. According to his analysis, the minimum limit for mortals is Tier 9. Once they start to acquire the power of Tier 10 or above, even if it's the weakest, immortal path, no one will allow it. All cultivators who previously supported them will stop. By then, Grand Tao will also interfere. Although mortal civilization involves the power of cultivators, many of his cores originated from Earth's science and technology, and Grand Tao will not allow its further expansion. Not necessarily. Lord, you have a way? Du Tsong asked. Artificial intelligence, Wang Wei thought, but he did not say these words out loud. Simple, you construct a soul powerful enough to control laws. The next step is to strip it of its emotions and change its memory capabilities into the ability to store knowledge or data. The third step is to modify its intelligence. Use runes that involve spirit, wisdom, and calculation to allow that soul to process a large amount of information and accomplish tasks beyond the norms. Once that is accomplished, you can leave the task of wielding the law to that soul. This method is feasible, Jia Ping commented. In the current world situation, building powerful weapons is allowed, and this soul falls under that category. Yes, it's definitely feasible, Du Tsong said, almost yelling. Hold your excitement and think about the downside of this approach, Wang Wei said, his words acting as if he had dunked a bucket of cold water on Du Tsong's head. This soul, or this life form, will be vastly more powerful than everyone in your civilization, and it will be the core of your development, Wang Wei explained. Can you imagine how catastrophic it will be if something goes wrong with it? It's easy for such a soul constantly involved in the power of law to regain its normal intelligence and emotion, Jia Ping analyzed. He could think of many ways for these mortals to restrict that soul, but Jia Ping knew they were only stopgap measures. The crux of the issue is that these mortals control power beyond their limits. As long as this fact holds true, there will always be the danger of that soul going out of control. I understand this, but what choices do we have? Du Zong said in a low voice. Alright, no need to start feeling sorry for yourself about something that hasn't happened yet, Wang Wei said. Focus on pushing your people to Tier 6 before thinking about the power of law. I understand, Lord, Du Zong nodded. He agreed with these words, but that also did not stop him from starting to prepare for the future. While Wang Wei and Jia Ping left to talk privately, Du Zong entered the Void Illusion realm to prepare for the future. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. The fact that Du Zong's group successfully escapes the shackles of their civilization is proof of mortals' luck manifesting in the form of advancement and prosperity. Let's check on the others to see, Wang Wei muttered. His first visit was to the puppet demon. As expected, this group was influenced by him and started developing puppetry. The mortals in that world have applied Wang Wei's method to mass-produce puppets to create enormous legions. Furthermore, they have also built a Tier 5 puppet prototype, but theirs is still not fully functional. The group under the poison demon was even more exaggerated. Their focus has been on rune herbology, and they have developed countless medicines and poisons. Their two most significant achievements were a medicine that increased the upper limit of a mortal's lifespan by another 300 years and a Tier 6 poison. Wang Wei was surprised by this discovery and wondered why no one reported this to him, and he had an answer. These people accidentally created that Tier 6 poison, and all other efforts to recreate it have failed. They've recently managed to refine a lesser version, which is Tier 5, and wanted to wait until they had cracked the formula before telling him. Wang Wei was skeptical and thought the poison demoness was secretly responsible for this accident. He had specifically ordered his people to be allowed to share their knowledge with their groups, but no direct interference was permitted. However, after checking, he discovered it was indeed an accident. Of course, to someone on his level, this accident was nothing but the manifestation of this civilization's luck and destiny. The next group Wang Wei checked on was the one supervised by the Curse Master. The latter did influence that civilization, but not by allowing these mortals to make groundbreaking advancements in Curse Dao. Curse Dao was a unique law involving cause and effect, meaning it was one of the side door Daos associated with fate. The entry requirement for this Dao is very high, meaning that mortal civilization couldn't have high enough accomplishments in just over 350 years. However, that did not deter them from making progress. These mortals had a different approach. Since they could not curse people, they would develop ways to protect themselves from curses. The cursed demon provided enough knowledge, and they built from there. Wang Wei was satisfied with this group's approach. Cultivators have many strange methods of killing, and he was confident that the mortals had the most basic defense. So, after encouraging them, he left for the next stop. The Bloodline Gang Lords group studied how to control and use demons and other races for battles. However, their results were subpar compared to the others, and after finding out it was because that bastard was not doing his job well regarding sharing his knowledge, Wang Wei beat him up and told him he would die the next time he came, and there was so little progress. Ever since the Grand Mist Gang Lord died, this bastard has lost his edge, Wang Wei sneered. If he had not been short on people right now, he would have killed that bastard for wasting his time. Alright, there is no point in getting upset. Let's check the last stop. Lord, has the news already spread? The flesh demon asked. What news? Isn't that why you're here? It seems something good has happened, Wang Wei commented. Show me. Wang Wei followed him to a lab and met the leader's son Long Wei. Sir, I present our greatest achievement, the Life Core Rune. Once implanted in our people, we can expand our lifespan to as high as 5,000 years, and this is just the first generation. We project that the lifespan limit can reach as high as 10,000 years. 13,690 years, that should be the absolute limit of mortal lifespan, Wang Wei commented. However, you have failed to see the true purpose of your discovery. True purpose? Sun Longwei asked. Cultivators can use it. Why would we want them to use our things? A radical? Wang Wei thought as he looked at them. Don't you remember why they are hunting you down in the first place? Limited lifespan, Sun Longwei muttered before looking at the projection showing the first generation life core rune. This was not a coincidence, was it? You're smart, Wang Wei replied calmly. My methods of extending their lifespan failed miserably due to outside influence. However, this method should have a higher chance of success, and someone just used you to disseminate this method. Heavenly Tao, Sun Longwei muttered. He looked at this thing, lost in thought for at least half a minute. So, what now? Continue your research and complete this thing as soon as possible. I'll order the other groups to provide you with more assistance and resources to ensure this project's completion, Wang Wei responded. Since this is vital, can't you take over the research to ensure it's done as quickly as possible? Sun Longwei said. His words showed his caring nature, but Wang Wei could tell he simply did not partake in this project that would benefit the people he so deeply despised and even hated. Do you think things are as simple as they appeared? Wang Wei sighed. This project represents your civilization's contribution to the world. Once you finish and it's publicized, Heavenly Tao can offer you more luck in destiny and better protect you from extinction. In other words, it's imperative you finish the work yourself. Understand? Don't let your emotions affect your people. Remember what I said when I trained you, you are a leader before everything else. I understand, Sun Longwei said. Wang Wei tapped his shoulder before walking out with the flesh demon. You did an excellent job. I didn't do anything. I doubt they would be able to have today's achievement without your knowledge about the flesh. I'm just a pawn. Not everyone is worthy to be a pawn, Wang Wei commented. Do you want any particular rewards? I want the 12 Revolution Fiend God body. Ever since the boss forced him to become a proper body refiner, the flesh demon has been lusting after that technique since he heard about it. Ambitious, aren't we? Wang Wei chuckled. Unfortunately, that technique is considered a semi-clan technique. However, although I can't give you my version, I can give you the original along with some tier 11 Fiend God blood. Deal, Flesh Demon agreed. You can find Wang Qi for your reward, Wang Wei said before leaving. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1378 Suspicious Information. Wang Wei's next destination was the mortal groups under Buddhism, the Emperor Enlightening Academy, Sage Lin Qi, and many other lineages. Wang Wei did not have enough manpower, so he had to use these people as aid. As expected, the model of development was similar to his. With protectors providing knowledge in specific fields, these groups tend to develop in that area. For example, the group under Buddhism has made significant progress in the field of spiritual power and even has some accomplishments regarding incense. Wang Wei did not hesitate to put them in charge of the creation of the law soul that he mentioned to Du Kong. The group under the Flame Blacksmith and another weapon refiner from Sage Lin Qi focused on material development. The new Tier 5 energy source and Tier 5 armor from Du Tsong's group were made possible due to the research from those two, and Wang Wei knew he would have to rely on them to develop the technology on how to use materials that could hold the power of laws. Everything is going well, Wang Wei analyzed. Now, we only need time to develop. If the mortals can develop to be on par with quasi-emperors, this catastrophe will be handled without much issue. However, will things be so smooth? Wang Wei knew it would not. Wang Wei shifted his entire focus to the war. Everyone was waiting for the climax, and so was he. However, a few weeks later, Wang Wei received an alarming message. It's from her? And she wants to see me? Is this a trap? Wang Wei was in a dilemma. The message indicated it was something important, but the circumstances were more than suspicious. Let's see her, but I need more protection. Wang Wei first contacted Feng Hang and visited him at the 10,000 Buddha Haven. The sight was truly remarkable. He found himself in this endless dimension surrounded by this white mist that stretched as far as the starry skies. Countless golden Buddhas with their palms extended, and people lived on top. Subtle chants of scripture echoed in the background. It was hard to hear without focus, but its effect on soothing the mind remains eternal. Donor, what do you think? Feng Heng asked. It deserves its name, Wang Wei praised. If I remember correctly, only Buddhist emperors can have the title of Buddha and leave a golden body here, correct? The donor is both correct and right, Feng Heng replied before pointing in the distance. Notice the difference? There are no monks living on that golden Buddhist palm. Any monk who proves the Tao will have the title of Buddha, but that is the lowest level in our sect, Feng Heng explained. True or enlightened Buddhas are people who have a deep enough understanding of the Dharma, have created their own schools or contributed enough merit. The monks living in their palms are proof that they have the wisdom to teach or enlighten others. It seems Buddhism hasn't lost its roots, Wang Wei commented. Proving the Tao is proof that someone has high fighting prowess, not that they are enlightened or have achieved a high state like nirvana. Wang Wei was glad that Buddhism still recognized this truth. Indeed, Feng Heng nodded. Donor, your status as honorary Buddha is enough to leave your mark here. Is that so? In that case, I'm welcome, Wang Wei said. What do I do? Manifest your title's power and your understanding of Buddhism, and this world will do the rest. Very well. Wang Wei's body suddenly released a golden light, and an unknown power from this dimension descended and took the light to condense it into a towering golden body with mist surrounding it. It's indeed different from the others, Wang Wei commented as he compared his body to the ones from the enlightened Buddhas. There is no Tao, or should I say, Dharma rhyme, that can help monks. Your body is better than most honorary members I've seen, Feng Heng commented. Donor, have you spent some time studying Buddhism? You can say that, Wang Wei agreed. He still planned to acquire his future self's ability to change the world by naturally helping him solve his problems. However, after discussing the plan with his future wife, they found a better approach than using Buddhism and other religions, domains. Wu Hong and even his father Wang Tian's application of their passive domains was a better approach to this plan. Of course, Wang Wei will not abandon studying religion and its powers, but it will not be his main focus. Donor, please follow me. The two flew away and soon arrived at a new golden body. It was a woman with an aura of peace and tranquility. The moment Wang Wei laid eyes on her, he had a feeling that this was the closest he could come to the realm of nirvana, sought after by all monks. I'm guessing this is not your body, Wang Wei jokes. The master told me to move in here. Master? So, it's official? As fate would have it, yes, Feng Heng nodded. I reckon this is the holy place of Buddhism, Wang Wei stated as he followed Feng Heng toward that golden palm. Is it alright to bring me here? Donor is a guest worthy of the highest reception, Feng Heng said calmly. In that case, I'm flattered. They soon reached a destination, a cave inside a mountain with minimal appliances. The entire locale screamed recluse or hermit, but Wang Wei did not mind. Donor, what is the purpose of your visit? Feng Heng asked after serving tea. I came for protection, Wang Wei said. He did not believe supreme unity could kill him while his true body was here. Wang Wei's projection arrived at the destination, a desolate dimension. He found no signs of his target, Zhen Biyu. He checked the surroundings and detected no ambush. So, with the utmost caution, Wang Wei entered to find a talisman floating at the center. He quadruple-checked before receiving the information, and his pupil immediately shrunk. The information he received was straightforward. Seven Cauldron was Supreme Unity's direct bloodline. In other words, she was his daughter. He had her long ago but never claimed or revealed it to the world. How did she get such news? The talisman revealed that information. Seven Cauldron has 7 commanders, all Empyreans with the highest fighting abilities. The most powerful one, who boldly called himself the Prime Cauldron, was enamored with Biyao, and he revealed the fact he was not only Seven Cauldron's direct son but also the grandson of one of the 2 sons. This is too much to analyze now. Let's leave first, Wang Wei thought before dissipating. 10,000 Buddha Haven. Wang Wei opened his eyes and frowned. The information revealed was shocking. Supreme Unity was a mystery. According to his analysis after talking to Maitreya and others, Supreme Unity was always highly low-key, with his influence being the weakest in Taoism despite his talent and strength. He may also have created this persona, and his real personality is unknown. It would not be easy for someone of his strength to have such a low presence that no one knew whether he secretly had children or not, Wang Wei thought. However, none of that matters. The genuine issue is whether this information is reliable. No, there is no way it is. How could Biyao find such information about Supreme Unity if he could hide it for so long? In that case, he's the one who released the information. But for what? He can't possibly think he'll use or act on it, but if he knows this, what's his purpose in releasing it? Wang Wei frowned as he pondered. I'm operating on the basis that this information is true, but is it? Seven Cauldron is his vessel, so that could explain why he chose her. However, vessels don't have to be blood-related, unless blood relationships allow him to use more power. However, the fights with Maitreya showed their vessels were similar in strength, unless Supreme Unity was hiding for a trump card. But if that's true, why reveal this information to me? Damn it, there are too many possibilities and variables. Wang Wei felt like ripping his hair. Instead, he opted to walk back and forth to help stimulate his mind. He analyzed and thought of all the possibilities but never could find an explanation with high enough probabilities. No, I overlooked something, Wang Wei thought. What if he released this news as a distraction? He knew how I would analyze everything and waste my time figuring out what he was doing. In the meantime, he can focus on something else. But what? He muttered. Where is his next move coming from? The war? The other parasites? Or maybe an extreme approach by directly attacking Buddhism? Wang Wei suddenly paused. I came to this place, so did he lure me here to ensure he could kill me directly during the attack? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know and report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1379 Terrible lost. As soon as Wang Wei had that thought, he wanted to do something, but it was too late. His surroundings changed, and 4 monks appeared around him. Before he could react, they enacted a barrier. Boom! Wang Wei's attack hit the barrier, but it did nothing. He was about to try again when his intuition went on overdrive, so he looked upward. A towering palm with the power of yin-yang rapidly descended on him, and Wang Wei's mind had only one thought that rapidly consumed his mind: death. Wang Wei wanted to resist, but it was useless. The spiritual hint in that palm completely overwhelmed his mind, making him unable to think, let alone move. As things appeared, it appeared this would be the end for him, but fate seemed to be on his side. The palm reminded him of this pagoda trial when he faced the wrath of heaven. He seemed to remember the anger and unwillingness he felt during the trial and quickly used it as a source of power. Wang Wei summoned his willpower to do 2 things. He bit the tip of his tongue and activated his talent, using the unimaginable pain to shock his system and regain clarity over his mind and body. The pain was so intense that it could have killed even someone of Wang Wei's willpower, but it was exactly what he needed in this moment of life and death. His body then acted almost on autopilot as he activated all his life-saving methods: yin-yang protection, freedom from life and death, luck survival, destiny guidance, time remnant substitute, and his unifying technique, fate manipulation, death escape. However, despite all these methods, the sense of danger he felt did not decrease immediately. In other words, that attack had reached beyond his current paragon strength. Is this how things end? Wang Wei thought. No, I have a bright future ahead of me. Am the man destined to reach the pinnacle of the universe and even transcend. How can I die here? My future self will definitely save me. His eyes sparked with brilliance before his death, and his intuition increased even more. No, I can't rely on something as fleeting as my future self, Wang Wei said. He pushed his soul and mind to the limit, doing trillions of calculations in less than nanoseconds, trying to find a way to survive. Then, it was as if the god of wisdom had whispered into his ears. Wang Wei activated his karma Dao and directly connected to Fengheng. However, his attempts failed, so he changed the target to Emperor Kong. It's time to repay your karma, Wang Wei thought, and through the link, he borrowed something crucial from the latter, his golden body of merit. Wang Wei then fused it with his own, thus temporarily achieving a third-level golden body of merit. As he looked at the enormous golden body standing above him for protection, Wang Wei felt reassured until his mind told him another bad news: chances of survival, 15%. What? Only 15%? Wang Wei wanted to cry, but he had long abandoned such useless emotion in this moment of life and death. He wanted to use his luck Dao to increase this probability, but it was futile. He had used all his trump cards. Is this really the end? Do I have to rely on chance to survive? Wang Wei was unwilling, but there was nothing he could do. That palm was descending at a speed he could barely react. The fact he could raise his success rate to 15% in such a short window was a miracle in itself. The palm crashed down, and the world went quiet. The people watching outside the barrier waited for the result, and once everything became clearer, a pale Wang Wei stood before everyone. He coughed a large mouthful of blood and looked at a golden crown floating above his head. He did not survive on his own merit. At the last minute, this crown, representing his status as the Three-Realm Emperor, manifested and protected him. However, Wang Wei knew the power of this crown did not originate from him but from Heavenly Dao, which intervened to save him. You saved me, but at what cost? How much power did we just take back that you lost in the process? Wang Wei thought as blood oozed out from his ears and noise. Although he was saved, he was not happy in the slightest. Forget how he had just lost control of his life, of his destiny. He knew how terrible the consequences of Heavenly Dao's interference were. Wang Wei suddenly felt the world spinning, and he could not stand still. His aura was dropping at an alarming rate, so he swiftly sat cross-legged in the group and closed his eyes. Unity, your hands have reached too far. A soft voice echoed between heaven and earth. Although it sounded calm, anyone with some discernment could feel the anger and wrath hidden. That little cockroach is really not easy to kill, a cold voice replied. Fengheng, no, Maitreya, looked at Seven Cauldron/Supreme Unity coldly. Although she had the highest state of mind in Buddhism, even that wasn't enough to keep her calm. However, her attention soon shifted to the power surrounding him, incense, so that's how he did it? The 10,000 Buddha Haven was Maitreya's home court, meaning she should have the overwhelming advantage. Supreme Unity should not even dare take one step into this place, but he not only did but successfully assassinated one of their honored guests. How did he do it? The answer is simple: incense. After what happened to her, Maitreya outlawed the use of incense by all Buddhist practitioners. She even modified the rules of the 10,000 Buddha Haven to detect and ban that power as soon as it was detected. However, Maitreya was also a little extreme when she changed the rules. The 10,000 Buddha Haven is both a world and a powerful artifact. When Maitreya changed the rules, she programmed the artifact spirit to be extremely strict. She always programmed it to make removing incense its main priority. Supreme Unity used this fact to his advantage. He filled the place with so much incense that the artifact spirit was busy dealing with it, meaning Maitreya could not use it or borrow the power from the haven. If Maitreya was at its peak, this plan could not work since she could have forcefully regained power from the spirit with one thought, but she was now only a vessel with limited powers and powers. Why is it always Taoism? Maitreya complained, feeling an emotion she hadn't in a long time, resentment. All her greatest suffering and setbacks are always from Taoism. Am I destined to always lose to them? Supreme Unity's plan looked simple, but it was far from it. Forget how he knew about the rules of the 10,000 Buddha Haven. How did he secretly transfer such a vast quantity of incense into this place without detection? The answer to that question is also simple and obvious: the honorary members. Throughout history, Buddhism has always accepted honorary Buddhas as a form of diplomacy to make friends and allies. This practice did not stop even during the 2 Suns 7 Moons era. Supreme Unity had people he secretly controlled infiltrate this place using these honorary members. When the time was right, he used them as a medium to infiltrate and invade with a large quantity of incense. Maitreya regained her bearings. She did not utter another word and went on the offensive. She wanted nothing but to eradicate this man as soon as possible. However, Supreme Unity did not want to fight directly, so he evaded her while pumping more incense into this place. However, this time, his target was not just the artifact spirit but all the surviving monks. He wanted to use the incense to corrupt them. Maitreya immediately realized his purpose, so she changed her tactic. Time was on her side. She knew the artifact spirit would clean up the incense, and it would do it faster than her opponent could bring more in. By then, Supreme Unity will be nothing but a sitting duck. So, she focused on damage control. Sadly for her, she also misunderstood Supreme Unity's objective. The scheming Taoist priest suddenly changed tactics. He teleported before Maitreya and embarrassed her before she could react. Boom! Supreme Unity blew himself up, killing 7 Cauldron and Fengheng in the process. The power of this explosion was truly potent, containing a hint of his power. Wang Wei suddenly opened his eyes as he sensed another danger. However, before he had to do anything, a golden light came from somewhere and blocked this explosion. He squinted as he saw a young man floating in the sky, his body releasing a holy light and a terrifying coldness. Monk Wuxia? Is he also a vessel? No, he should be the new one. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1380 Major chess moves. Maitreya calmly examined the chaos around her. She exhaled before spreading her message to all monks worldwide. All monks must report to the haven in one form or another. Another great Buddhism-Taoism war is about to start. As soon as she uttered these words, the world experienced a slight tremor, eventually leading to a cataclysmic earthquake. She then flew to Wang Wei's side and frowned. What happened to Fengheng? Wang Wei asked. I can feel he is gone even though his karmic threads to me and my memories of him are still intact. He is dead, true death, but only in a manner of speaking, Maitreya replied. Existence hierarchy, Wang Wei muttered. Half-step detachment is so high on the hierarchy that after Supreme Unity killed Fengheng, it did not matter whether he had countless avatars, his secret vaults still existed, or everyone still remembers him. He just died like that. Don't worry, he'll be fine as long as I'm alive, Maitreya reassured. But what if something happens to you? Maitreya was momentarily silent. I'll revive him when the time is right. When will that be? He was my vessel, meaning my power ran deep into his body, even his existence. If I don't take time and effort in the revival process, his future transcendence path will be cut off. So, that's why I can feel 7 Cauldrons' karma line. He doesn't care about her future, so he can instantly revive her. But you do, meaning you've lost probably the best vessel. Wang Wei chuckled to himself, but his laughter was self-deprecating. In just one move, he reduces me to this state, forces Heavenly Tao to use one of its trump cards, regain more powers in their confrontation, kill your disciple and perfect vessel, and starts the Buddhist-Taoist war, which will further turn the world into chaos and kill more people. And all he sacrificed were a few pawns and maybe one of 7 cauldrons' longevity resources. What a brilliant move. The war cannot stop, Maitreya stated. It is the only way to distract his vessel and all his manpower. The rest is up to you. What can I do in my state? Wang Wei said. He was, in fact, dying. The blow destroyed him enough that he was about to lose his body and soul and enter limbo. His best solution is to seal himself, but that would not change the fact that he was out of the game. And that's not mentioning whether a seal would work or that he had little time to find an effective solution. I can save you, but I'll need one of your avatars, Maitreya added. I've already killed all the ones in the upper dimension, Wang Wei said. I could make a new one, but that would be pointless since he would only be a mortal, unless you have a way for me to cultivate. I can't do that, Maitreya shook her head. Supreme Unity was careful about the lock. Although vessels can use powers slightly beyond primal paragons, it was not enough to destroy the lock, let alone forcefully alter the rules he had created. Wang Wei shrugged his shoulders after hearing her answer, and Maitreya's frown deepened. I know you're disappointed with my failure, but this is not the time to have this defeatist outlook. Defeatist outlook, huh? Why don't you tell me what kind of outlook I should have? Wang Wei snapped. You were supposed to be my most reliable teammates, but you couldn't even protect me in your territory. So, forgive me if I don't look too favorably on our situation. No need to mince your words, Maitreya said calmly. Say what you have to say before we can move on. Wang Wei looked at her with gritted teeth but then chose to close his eyes to regain his composure. He ignored his body's constant and rapid weakening and focused on controlling his emotions. What plan do you have? That's more like it, Maitreya said. You should have an emperor avatar in the lower dimension. That's right, Wang Wei nodded. He had a peak emperor avatar to replace himself in case something went wrong after his ascension. That avatar is also the last safety net of the Tao opening sect. It'll contact Heavenly Tao to allow you to contact it and force it to ascend. Wang Wei was not excited about this plan but looked at her seriously. Do you know what is at stake? The lower dimension and the people in limbo are the last fighting chances. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. Your words are not very trustworthy currently, are they? That's why this war must happen, Maitreya continued. I have reduced the effort I put into searching for whatever threats I sensed from the river of time. I will now focus all my time on dealing with Supreme Unity, so you don't have to worry. Fine, I'll trust you once again, Wang Wei agreed reluctantly. Good. Let's get started. Now. There is no better time than the present. She floated in the sky, and with a thought, the river of time manifested between heaven and earth. All sentient and non-sentient beings in the eternal ascension world saw it and heard Maitreya's following words, stop. It was quick, almost instant. All matter, energy, space-time, and even concepts became still. Time has stopped working. Everyone stopped moving, but only 999% of people were unaware. The paragons, battle taboo achievers, and a few truly powerful Empyreans still had their perception despite their bodies and souls stopping, and they were shocked by this display of power. These people knew the two suns were mighty, but there had been few opportunities for them to know by how much. Today, they glimpsed at their powers. Get to work, Maitreya said to Wang Wei before her eyes focused on the newly revived 7 cauldron. With a thought, Maitreya killed the latter before repeating the process 6 more times. However, on the 7th time, a black and white shield surrounded her and protected her life. Maitreya glanced at him briefly before shifting her gaze to someone else, Time Eater. She did not waste time before killing him 3 times, but another black and white shield protected him as well. She frowned but did not focus on this for too long. She raised her head to glance at the lock. Maitreya observed briefly before deciding not to touch this thing. Destiny was not on her side, and she knew Supreme Unity was prepared for her intervention as this was not the first time she had tried to destroy it. Maithreya's gaze then shifted to somewhere else, the people in limbo. She immediately blessed them, granting them protection similar to Wang Wei's heaven-deceiving array. She knew what these people needed the most was to move undetected under Supreme Unity's eyes. She also wanted to prevent him from secretly hunting and killing them. Maithreya was about to move on when time started to move forward again. She sighed, thinking, longer than I anticipated but still not enough. She looked at Wang Wei, who now had an avatar next to him. She pointed at the original body, and it turned into motes of lights that fused with the avatar. Wang Wei clenched his fists, followed by a basic boxing routine to get acquainted with his new body. I am so weak. His current cultivation was 69% Grand Dao source, and with his taboo battle realm, he can fight peak Empyreans. However, that was the limit of his power. His former Paragon tier battle prowess was gone. You will have to do with this for now, Maithreya said. She had plenty of trust in him to find a solution now that he was not dying and had plenty of time to strategize. Maithreya suddenly remembered something and swiftly condensed a golden glow in her palm, granting the same hiding blessing to Wang Wei. This should help you better hide and plan from the shadow. Thank you, Wang Wei nodded. Here, Maithreya said as she handed him a talisman. What's this? The key to our victory, Maithreya said. The lock is the key, and as long as you can destroy it, the backlash he will suffer is enough for Heavenly Dao to regain most of the control and me to injure his real body severely. Can this thing destroy the lock? But that's just an information talisman. It contained my understanding and analysis of the lock, Maithreya stated. In the end, I still must do all the heavy lifting, Wang Wei complained. That's what it means to bear the burden of destiny. My destiny was the moon's, not him. It was always a package, Maithreya replied. You just never noticed it. In other words, I was duped, Wang Wei said with twitching lips. Maithreya shrugged. All right, I'm sure you want to leave, but I have a war to plan for. You can see yourself out. She disappeared, leaving Wang Wei alone. He looked in the distance and sighed. The lesson here is I should not rely too much on others, but is that truly a good lesson? Wang Wei teleported away, not knowing the answer to his question. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know each report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Most people would roll their eyes at his thought, but he already had a feasible plan. He knew of a second generation with a transcendent father who doted heavily on him. It was easy for Heavenly Dao to lure that bastard to the Eternal Ascension world and ensure an accident occurred, forcing his father to intervene in the conflict. This plan is feasible, but what are the cons? Heavenly Book analyzed calmly. A high risk of overthrowing the board. Heavenly Dao's plan was bold and risky. If he succeeds, he will achieve transcendence in one fell swoop, or at the very least, achieve power on par with Grand Dao. However, he also understood he was playing with fire, and his greatest fear was that Grand Dao or the future Wang Wei would overthrow the game board by destroying the universe and killing everybody. An animal is most dangerous when cornered, let alone a transcendent being, Heavenly Book analyzed. If he cannot see his younger self have any chance at survival, he will start acting like a cornered animal, which is the last thing I want. Heavenly Book frowned, realizing he was back to the beginning. His best option now is just to wait and continue doing what he was doing. What should I do? He pondered. Just as he was indecisive, new information appeared in the book. Their first meeting is about to take place? Is this Grand Dao's hint that I should do something? Heavenly Book calculated swiftly before realizing that this was indeed an opportunity. I could, wait, my mindset has been a little too excited. The original plan was to survive the cracks between these two titans and wait for the right opportunity to strike. Being too excited and showing myself too much before them will ruin my chances of the final strike. Heavenly Book finished the new page in the book and decisively closed it. Sometimes, doing less is doing more. So, he resisted the temptation and let Grand Dao deal with this mess. Although he was a pawn, he was not the absolutely loyal kind, meaning he was also not the kind that could be discarded at will. Heavenly Book did not wait long before receiving another secret contact from the Heaven Cardinal, but he ignored it. Since he had made his decision, nothing could change it. Anyways, he can benefit from whoever is the final winner in this upcoming confrontation. Eternal Ascension World, Secret Dimension. Wang Wei returned to his hideout, thinking about what he experienced, what to learn from it, and how to operate in the future. Paranoia is an excellent way to protect myself, but it also made me predictable. So, how do I act from now on? Wang Wei focused on his personality and how he usually acts. He also tried to put himself in his opponent's shoes. I'm arrogant by nature, and this recent failure is a big blow to me. 99% of people, especially Dao overlords, would become even more cautious and timid after that defeat. So, I must be unpredictable and start acting even more aggressively.